Tanaka's ambition. A busy moment in the streets of Tokyo. Michael nods in response to his father's words, realizing he'd been lost in track of the time while wandering the streets. He turns around and heads back towards the hotel, feeling a bit disoriented from the jet lag, the lack of sleep. As he walks, he can't feel or help but shake the feeling of unease that has been following him since he arrived in Tokyo. He approaches the hotel, seeing a group of men standing outside, smoking, talking in hushed tones, as typical youths do. They look up as he approaches. You can feel their eyes on him, probing him as he walks past. He's not dumb. Quickens his pace, trying to ignore their stares and the sense of danger that seems to emanate from them. This is Japan. Many folks don't like foreigners here. He makes it safely inside the hotel. He looks around, heads up to his room. He's relieved to be away from the streets and the unknown dangers lurking there. He collapses onto the bed exhausted, but unable to sleep. He replays the events of the night in his mind, trying to make sense of the unease that lingers within him. Morning comes. He wakes up from another nightmare. Jameson, his daddy, walks into the room and sees Michael in a state of distress. What's wrong with you now, boy? Damn weakling. Another nightmare or what? He scoffs. He tries to explain the dream, but Jameson simply cuts him off. I ain't one to hear it, need to toughen up. So things a goddamn weakling. Michael starts to protest, but he interrupts. I didn't raise you to be a pussy, boy. You need to man up. Face your issues, your problems, like a real man. He feels defeated and ashamed. Michael knows he can't win this argument with his daddy. Susan nods and stays quiet. Now get up, get dressed. We got a meeting with Japanese partners in an hour, and I do not want to have you embarrassing me in front of them. As they make their way to the Yamaguchi building, can't help the feeling of unease from his nightmare. Feels like he's being watched, and he can't help but look around nervously. Jameson, on the other hand, walks confidently beside of him, suitcase in hand, or briefcase, I should say. Michael's unease only intensifies as they go further into the building. The place is almost deserted, with only a few people scattered about. But that actually makes sense due to the time of day. It's almost nighttime. And while Japanese folk definitely have a strong work ethic, even then, there's busier times than others. They make their way up the elevator, and Jameson presses the button for the 28th floor. The ride up is silent, only sound being the hum of the elevator. When they reach the floor, Michael feels a wave of relief wash over him for some reason. As they step out, chaos is revealed before them. The office is torn apart, papers scattered everywhere, desks overturned. Jameson is pissed. He looks around. Michael can see his father's mood. He looks away, not one to deal with this. The hell is going on in here? Get to work. Start cleaning this shit up. Michael nods, feeling embarrassed and guilty for not being able to prevent this. He starts picking up papers. He notices that some of them have kanji written all over them, almost as if they were a warning of some sort. Doesn't make any freaking sense. Of course, Jameson is able to read and speak Japanese, unlike his son. And needless to say, the man definitely is concerned, but he doesn't show it. He notices his boy's sense of dread, and he shakes his head. What are you doing? Get to work! He snarls. Michael swallows hard, hoping to avoid any more confrontation with his father. But as he cleans up the mess, can't help but shake the feeling that something is really wrong. What has his father gotten into? Jameson looks at him with a stern expression, frustrated by his boy's silence. After a bit of that silence, he lets out a deep sigh and begins to speak. Boy, He proceeds to scold Michael about how the previous night, on their way back to the hotel, they had stumbled upon a group of men beating up a homeless man. Michael had tried to intervene, but was quickly outnumbered, and needless to say, overpowered. They could have been seriously hurt. He listens in frustration as his father tells him that he's lucky to be alive. Both of them are. Jameson finishes what he's saying and looks at Michael with a mixture of concern and frustration. Now do you understand why I told you to stay out of such situations? We got lucky last night, but it could have been a whole hell of a lot fucking worse. You need to learn to control your damn emotions and think before you act. Michael nods, feeling a sense of shame wash over him. He had acted impulsively and put him and his daddy in danger. He promises himself to be more level-headed. And with this, he gets frustrated. He asks angrily, why is he even bringing it up? I'm bringing it up because you need to remember what happened that night. You know exactly what night I'm talking about, boy. You damn near died 2 years ago. All because you couldn't resist playing the hero for some random stranger on the street. Those thugs could have killed us had I not threatened to call the police. You don't even know one inkling of Japanese, whereas I do. I know what happened, Dad. I was there. And I would do it again if I had to. That's the problem. You're always trying to play the hero. You can't even take care of yourself, much less anyone else. Freaking weak. I am not weak. Yes, you are. You're weak and you're reckless. And don't even... if you don't start thinking for yourself, you're going to wind up very dead. He feels a knot form in his stomach. He hates it when his father talks to him like this. Like he's some sort of disappointment. Look, Dad, I can take care of myself. I don't need you to protect me all the time. That's the problem, Michael. You think you're invincible. I get it. Most kids do. But you're not. You have to start thinking about the consequences of the things you do. He looks away, feeling ashamed. Maybe his dad's right. Look, he puts a hand on his son's shoulder. I want you to be safe, okay? You know, since we lost your mother, you're all I got left. Get me? I ain't wanting to lose you either. I know, Dad. I'm sorry. I just can't help it sometimes. I see trouble or someone in trouble. I have this urge to help. Maybe it's because of what happened to Mom. The larger man looks to his son. I get that too, kid. And there's nothing wrong with the intents that you have, but you need to be smart about it. You can't save the world, all right? You have to take care of yourself. Gotta do that first. Understand? I will, Dad, I promise. All right, now let's go ahead and get to work. As the days pass, Michael continues to feel uneasy, as if someone is constantly watching him. He tries to shake the feeling off, but it lingers in the back of his head. He's more cautious and aware of his surroundings. Always looking over his shoulder, checking his phone for suspicious activity. He can't seem to pinpoint who, what is making him feel like this. Makes no damn sense. Weeks pass. He begins to wonder. Paranoia? You know, his father's always had a healthy bit of that. Is it genetic or what, you know? Some kind of crazy mental illness or something? He tries to focus on his work. He's very good at what he does, being a graphic designer. His own work having fueled his father with a lot of ability and a lot of money. However, he ignores that feeling of being watched. Still in the back of his head. He decides to take just a break from his project, out of his office. He heads on outside, walking down the street. He notices a woman, very plain-looking woman, in a long coat, fedora. Why the hell she'd be dressing like that? It makes no sense. In the end, it matters little. He's creeped out by her. She continues to follow him, quickens his pace. He wonders if this woman is the one that's been watching him. Can't really tell. He turns a corner and hides behind a building, waiting to see if this woman is just going to pass by or what. He peeks behind the building after a few moments, sees the woman walking away. He's very relieved to hear about that, and see that she's not even wanting to screw with him right now. He heads back to work, feeling uneasy, not one to alarm nobody. He's foolish like that. From then on, Michael becomes more cautious and aware of his surroundings. He can't shake the feeling of being watched. But he also can't pinpoint who or what is doing it other than that woman. He focuses on his work, trying to take care of his affairs. That nagging feeling in the back of his noodle never goes away. Later, as Michael and Jameson are headed home, the same woman lunges at him with a blade, tries to dodge her, but she manages to graze his arm with the blade. His father, who had been nearby, rushes over and tackles the woman to the ground. Jameson's a big, strong man. It's not much of a problem, despite the struggle, for him to grab that blade and throw it away. She gets up and runs away before the police can arrive. Michael is left stunned and bleeding from his wound. He helps his kid get up. They make their way to the hospital. The doctors tell him he's lucky the wound wasn't deeper. Could have cut an artery. Jameson is furious, or at least he seems to be. He vows to find out who was behind the attack on his boy. They leave the hospital. Still feels like he's being watched. Jameson simply tells him to keep his guard up. It's really all they can do right now. Later, when his father has gone on business, he's patched up pretty good. Michael is in their hotel suite alone. He sees his dad's cell phone. The boy has always been curious, but maybe the shit that's been going down and the way they saw the office and the mess it was in, he decides just to check to see what the hell's going on, where normally he wouldn't do this. He unlocks his dad's phone, checks on the texts on it. He looks through the texts on his dad's phone, discovers a high life insurance policy on his own person. This terrifies the shit out of him. Michael feels a sense of unease and betrayal, his head swimming. He realizes his father may be up to something, having ulterior motives for their relationship, you know? He can't shake the feeling that the woman who attacked him might have been sent by his daddy. Why the hell would he try to... He forced such thoughts away. Maybe it has simply been a distraction. His father's actions, that is. Either way, the discovery of the high life insurance policy only confirms his suspicions. Michael begins to distance himself from his father. He's unsure of trust. He fears for his life, understandably. He begins to take precautions, carries a pocket knife, watching his back at all times. He don't know how to use anything like this, but he feels like he don't have a choice. He's never been in a fight in his life. He hadn't had to be. He's seen his fair bit of tragedy, but nothing like that. Not when it comes to violence, not truly. Even though he's willing to help others with the stuff himself. The once close relationship between father and son has become strained, with Michael feeling a sense of mistrust and resentment towards Jameson. Obvious reasons, right? Time passes, and later on he's walking down an alley, Michael that is, when he hears a rustling behind him. He turns around to see a woman in black standing there. The same woman, a glint of metal in her hand. Before he can even react, she lunges at him and stabs him in the stomach. He gasps in pain and falls to the ground, clutching his wound. The woman looms over him. But before she can strike again, a group of people rush towards them, drawn to the commotion. The woman glances at them, and then at Michael, before vanishing into the darkness. Michael is left there, bleeding and alone, wondering who this woman is and why she would attack him so viciously. Suffice to say, he's taken back to the hospital and patched up. Ironically, the stomach wound was less dangerous than the one on his arm. But regardless, he's released pretty quickly. As the assassin heads back to take payment from the dude that was her employer, there's a rustle of heavy silk. The assassin seems a very tall woman, at least for one in Japan, in a very voluminous, dark-colored kimono. The heavy outer robe trails at least 10 foot behind her. If this woman wears it, as if it It weighs nothing. The assassin tries to grab her blade, but the other woman's swift and precise movements leave her disarmed and very vulnerable. The taller woman stabs the assassin with a tanto, causing her to fall to the ground. She writhes in agony as the woman known as Kiyomi watches her closely, ensuring she won't get back up again. As the assassin writhes in pain, the woman, which is Kiyomi, throws the train or the kimono over her, the folds of the fabric enveloping her completely. With a quick motion, she pulls the kimono away, revealing that the assassin had vanished without a trace. The folds of fabric appear undisturbed, as if the woman had never been there at all. Kiyomi looks down at her kimono with a thoughtful expression, then turns and vanishes into the night. As Kiyomi vanishes into the night, she feels a sense of satisfaction in her actions. She knows that her skills and the power of the kimono will keep her safe, as it has for ages. She feels smug in her abilities. The night carries a whisper of her laughter as she disappears into the shadows. Time passes. This is after his release from the hospital, Michael, that is. As he looks up, he sees a woman step forward. She's fanning herself with her fan, and much of her face is covered. She speaks with a smooth, melodic voice. He's definitely shocked by her height. Michael himself stands a good 5'6". This woman stands at least 6 foot. She asks him very calmly if he remembers her. At first, he doesn't, but she steps closer. He sees her eyes, the same striking brown eyes of the woman he had met in the alleyway. He stares at her for a moment. Yes, I remember you. Good. I've been looking for you, she says with a cold smile that doesn't quite reach her eyes. He steps back, unsure of what to do. He can feel his heart racing in his chest. His palms are slick with sweat. He's never been in a situation like this before, and he ain't sure how to react proper. He steps a very calm step forth. He instinctively steps back. Don't be afraid, she says. I am not here to harm you. I just need to ask you some questions. He hesitates before nodding. He doesn't know why the hell he's agreeing to this, but something in the woman's voice makes him feel he can trust her. Okay, what do you want to know? Her smile widens as she lowers her fan. He can now see her face clearly, and he realizes just how beautiful she is. There's something unsettling about this, though, her appearance, otherworldly, beyond human. I want to know everything. About your father, about the attack, the woman who tried to kill you, everything. I'm sorry, I don't feel comfortable telling you all of that. I do know this. My dad and someone I think I know anymore. Maybe that will help you if you have business with him. When he finishes, the woman nods again. Thank you. You have been very helpful. He watches the woman turn and vanish into the shadows with a grace she shouldn't have. He's not who she is, what she's wanting. But he knows he's just gotten himself involved in something much bigger than himself. Time passes. Kiyomi has been watching Michael from the shadows for days, waiting for the right moment to approach him. That night, Michael had made his way to a cheap motel, hoping to lay low for a while. As he lay on the bed, he suddenly saw Kiyomi standing over him. Kiyomi's very large outer kimono hung open, revealing her leather pants and a tight-fitting shirt underneath. Her long jet black hair was pulled back into a sleek ponytail, and her face was partially obscured by a fan she held in her hand. As she approached Michael, the inner lining of her kimono revealed a glowing silver snake that was embroidered within the red material. Without a word, she let the hypnotic power of the snake take hold of Michael's mind, and he fell under her spell immediately. She knew that he was the key to uncovering the truth about his father's plans, and she was determined to use every tool at her disposal to extract that information from him. Kiyomi watches Michael closely. As he answers honestly that he doesn't know who sent or what sent the assassin after him. She snaps her fan closed and pulls her kimono tight around herself as she considers his words. After a moment, she speaks up. I apologize for assuming. I do feel that I owe you for saving my life, and for that I will do what I can to help you. I was not happy at you closing me off earlier, but I do understand, Michael-san. He looks at her in surprise, not expecting such a response. Michael looks at her in surprise, not expecting such a response. She stands up and begins to walk towards the door, her kimono flowing behind her. Michael watches as her outer kimono opens slightly, revealing the leather pants and fitted shirt she wears beneath. He notices the glowing snake on the inner lining of her kimono and feels himself getting lost in its hypnotic gaze. She doesn't use this to her advantage. She simply lets it work on him. Without a word, she exits the room. He follows her out into the night. She leads him out into a small alleyway and stops before a nondescript door. He turns to her, and she turns to him, and she says, "This is where we part ways. But if you need me, simply think of me, and I will come to you." What is your name? You obviously know mine. Kiyomi, she says, smiling gently. And with that, she disappears in the shadows, leaving Michael standing alone in the alleyway. Time passes, and he decides to stay in his own motel room with money saved up. Keep away from his daddy for the moment. Feels he can't trust him. One night, as he comes back to his motel room, Kiyomi watches Michael with a feeling of pity and confusion. Confusion comes from why she feels the level of gratitude that she does. Hell, men have helped her before, but never so selflessly. The pity coming from the bad luck this kid is with being related to such a man as the infamous businessman Jameson Lee. Michael looks at her in surprise, wondering how the hell she got into his room without him noticing. He's not too surprised about that. He tries to speak, but his words slur due to the alcohol. She looks at him disapprovingly and shakes her head. She gestures towards the kimono spread out on the bed, silently indicating that he should lie down. He lays down on the bed. He begins to remove his socks and shoes. She then pulls the kimono over him, covering him completely. He feels the soft fabric envelop him. He suddenly feels a sense of calm that he hadn't felt really in a long time. She watches him sleep. And then, after a while, finally leaves the room quietly, disappearing into the shadows of night. The sound of rustling silk evident as the folds of the kimono following him vanish with its wearer. Michael keeps ahead of his father into himself. 2 days pass, and he heads back to his room. He sees a very tall woman, very large, in a kimono. Kiyomi, in the same room with him. She tells him, "We need to talk." He nods agreement. He asks her, why is she so fixated on it? He listens to her words, surprised by her answer. Of course, he's not dumb. He forgot about the incident 2 years ago. It was true. He acted on instinct to save her from a group of attackers and got hurt. He nods his head slowly, understanding her perspective. She continues to fan herself. He speaks up, asking her why she doesn't just leave the city if she doesn't want to be involved in the kind of lifestyle that he saw, her in. Her expression becomes more guarded, which is an instinctual thing. Of course, with Japanese culture, it's understandable. But she responds, telling him that it's not so easy to just leave everything behind. And that's simply a human thing, my friend. She has debts to pay, a reputation to uphold, of course. And she has entertained men in Japan for years. She has no desire to go anywhere. She enjoys her life and what she does. He understands. It's never as simple as just walking away. He can see the burden in her eyes, and it makes him feel a sense of empathy towards her. He gets it. He tells her that he will do whatever he can to help her, but he just doesn't know what to do. She looks at him with a mixture of gratitude and uncertainty. She thanks him for his offer, but tells him that he should focus on his own safety for now. Michael nods, realizing he can't help her if he puts himself in danger. As the conversation comes to a close, Kiyomi stands against a fold of kimono. Michael watches as she very carefully tucks the fabric away around herself, feeling a sense of admiration for her grace and composure. He takes a deep breath and musters up the courage to speak. Kiyomi, please, don't go, okay? Look, I know we just met, but I don't want to be alone tonight. I'm not interested in anything sexual. I just want someone to talk to, okay? Kiyomi raises a brow. She considers his request. After a moment, she nods, and sits down beside him on the bed. The woman does something surprisingly unlike herself. She pulls him close, her kimono sleeve enveloping him and keeping him warm. I understand, she says. Sometimes it's good to have someone to talk to. What's on your mind? He takes a moment to gather his thoughts before opening up to Kiyomi. They talk for hours about anything, everything. He tells her about his past, his fears, his hopes for the future, everything. She listens intently, offering words of comfort and pretty much a good bit of wisdom. Night wears on. He feels a sense of peace wash over him. He realizes for the first time in a long time he's not alone. He owes it to this woman, Kiyomi, mysterious woman in the kimono. She looks at him with a solemn expression and says, I have known men like your father all my life. They are selfish individuals who look out only for themselves. They will do anything to get what they want, even if it means hurting the people closest to them. She pauses and continues. You are not weak, Michael. You are simply too kind. You care about others, and you are willing to sacrifice your own well-being for their sake. But sometimes you need to think of yourself first. You need to be strong and stand up for what you believe in. Don't let anyone take advantage of you. She takes a deep breath and looks at him with a determined gaze. I will help you, Michael. We will get through this together. She clutches him tightly with her kimono and says, Don't pull away from me, Michael. You need to face the truth. After he finally does pull away, she lets out a sigh of resignation and continues. Your father's company was built on the backbone of your talent. He needs you to continue to create for him. And if you can't, he'll find someone else who can. That's the bigger picture, Michael. You have to see it. He asks her, wanting to change the subject, his blonde features troubled. What were you doing when I found you 2 years ago? I know what you were capable of. Surely you could have fought them off. She looks down at her lap for a moment before answering Michael's question. I was without my kimono that day, trying to blend in and not draw attention to myself, she says. But then they saw through my disguise and attacked me. They were after the money I had on me, the money I had earned from my clients. You stepped in and saved me without asking for anything in return. She looks back at Michael, her eyes softening lightly. You have a good heart, Michael. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. He watches as her kimono falls open, revealing the hypnotic glow of the silver snake in the lining. She steps closer her eyes fixed on him, and he feels a chill run down his spine. He tries to back away, but her grip on him tightens. She pulls him close to her. "Please kill me." His voice barely above a whisper. "I need some time alone." She doesn't seem to hear him at first. Her eyes are fixed on his. He can feel himself getting lost in their depths. He tries to resist. The hypnotic power of her kimono was too strong. Suddenly, her grip on him loosens. He can see the conflict in her eyes as she struggles with her desire to stay and her respect for his wishes. She finally nods and pulls her kimono closer around her. "Very well," she says, her voice low and husky. "I will leave for now. But remember, Michael, I am always here if you need me." With that, she turns and walks out of the room, her kimono billowing behind her. He watches her go, feeling a sense of relief and sadness all at once. He knows he can't keep depending on her, but at the same time, he's grateful she's around. Make no mistake there. Jameson had been searching for Michael for days. So far, zilch. His last hope was to try to reason with Emiko, the CEO of the Yamaguchi Foundation, who had recently acquired a majority share in Phoenix Enterprises, their company. His and Michael's, that is. As he approaches their office, he was struck by a regal presence. The woman was tall and fine-boned, Emiko, that is, with a heart-shaped face and jet black hair cascading down her back, all the way to the floor. She wore a stunning purple junihito, ornately decorated with serpents and stars, with a pantsuit underneath. Her feet were adorned with elegant black pumps. "Mr. Lee, what a surprise," she said in a smooth, measured tone. As Jameson entered her office, "Miss Yamaguchi, thank you for seeing me," he replied, trying to keep his voice steady. "What brings you here today?" she asked, her piercing gaze fixed on him. "I wanted to talk with you about the acquisition of Phoenix Enterprises," he said, taking a deep breath. "Yes, I assume you have a proposal for me," Emiko said, her tone implying she was already bored with the conversation. He took out a folder and handed it to her. "This is a counter-proposal to your original offer. It includes an alternate ownership structure that would allow Michael and I to retain more control over our company." She opened the folder, glancing over the contents. "Interesting," she said, her eyes scanning the document. He held his breath, hoping that she would accept the proposal. After a few moments, she closed the folder and placed it on her desk. "I'm afraid I cannot accept this," she said, her voice cold and final. "Why not?" he asked, his heart sinking. "Because it is not in the best interest of the Yamaguchi Foundation," she replied, her eyes narrowing. Jameson felt his anger rising. He was getting pissed. "And what about the best interest of my son? He's a co-owner of that company." "Your son made a choice when he sold his shares to us," she said, her voice rising slightly. "And now it is time for you to make a choice too. You can either accept our offer or accept the consequences." He clenched his fists, his eyes flashing with rage. "I'll never sell it to you. I'd rather burn this fucking company to the ground than let you have it." She raised an eyebrow, unfazed by his outburst. "That is a very bold statement, Mr. Lee. Are you prepared to follow through with it?" "I'll do whatever it takes to protect my son's legacy," he said, his voice low and menacing. "We shall see, Mr. Lee. We shall see," she said, leaning back in her chair, a sly smile playing at the corner of her lips. Jameson and Michael sat at a booth at a public restaurant, their voices lowered as they talked. "You betrayed me to that woman, didn't you?" Jameson accused. Michael looked at his daddy, his eyes cold. "You betrayed me first. You gambled away your share of Phoenix Enterprise, and you were going to let the company go down. I had to sign over my share to Emiko to save it. I know why our office was ransacked. I looked through your phone. You pissed off the wrong people. What you owe. He scoffed. You're just weak, boy. That's all you are, Michael. You always have been. That's why I hired that woman to take care of you. His eyes widened. What are you talking about? You know damn well what I'm talking about, Jameson said. I hired someone to take care of you. To make sure you don't embarrass our family anymore. It's time for you to go, Michael. You're trying to have me killed. That's what you're telling me? He stood up, his fists clenched. You're pathetic, Michael. I have no son. Michael glared at his dad. You're done. You hear me? I am done with you, Jameson. You're done. You're dead to me. It takes all of the boy's strength not to attack his father. You have to remember, he's not a fighter. His dad's ex-military. He knows he'll be hurt or worse. It's best just to go. As he stormed out of the restaurant, Jameson sat back in his seat. A small, cold smile on his face. He had finally rid himself of his weak, pathetic son. Unknown to them, a sorcerer had been watching their conversation, his eyes gleaming with interest. Jameson sat there, watching his son leave the restaurant. He didn't know what to think. Part of him was still very angry. Another part of him couldn't help but feel a small amount of respect for Michael. At least he had earned Emiko's respect, despite being a foreigner. He shook his head, trying to clear his thoughts, had to focus on the task at hand. He couldn't let his emotions cloud his judgment. He would find a way to get rid of Michael, no matter what it took. As Tanaka watched from afar, he couldn't help but find amusement in the argument between Jameson and Michael. Mortals were so predictable, always falling into their own petty disputes and squabbles. He watched as Jameson stormed out of the restaurant, his face twisted in anger and frustration. He could sense the desperation in Jameson, the deep-seated need for power and control that drove him to such extremes. And Michael, for all his bravado, was still just a mortal man, or a boy in this case. He could sense the fear and uncertainty that lurked beneath the surface, the nagging doubts about his own abilities and worth. The sorcerer chuckled to himself, reveling in the power that he had over these mere mortals. He knew he could crush them with a mere thought, bend them to his will with a flick of his wrist. But where was the fun in that? No. He preferred to watch over them, to watch them squirm, to see them dance to his tune, without even realizing it. He settled back in his chair, a small smile playing across his lips. This was going to be a very interesting game indeed. Michael stumbled into his motel room, his head spinning from the alcohol. He collapsed onto the bed, only to find Kiyomi sitting there, her sakura patterned kimono draped elegantly around her. Kiyomi, he muttered, surprised to see her. What are you doing here? Her expression was stern as she gazed at him. What are you doing to yourself, Michael? You are better than this. He sighed heavily. I don't know what I'm doing anymore, he confessed. Everything's falling apart and I don't even know how to fix it. Her eyes softened and she moved over to him, placing a hand on his shoulder. You're not alone, Michael. I'm here for you. He looked at her, up at her, grateful for her presence. He knew he could always count on Kiyomi to be there for him, no matter what. The two talked long into the night. As Kiyomi listened patiently to Michael's troubles, offered him words of comfort and encouragement. The night wore on. He found himself feeling lighter and more at ease. The designs on Kiyomi's kimono seeming to calm and soothe him. She pulled him close to her, wrapping her kimono tightly around him. She could feel his body trembling both from the booze and the emotions boiling inside of him. What are you doing? He asked, confused by the sudden gesture. I hate your father, Michael, she said firmly, her eyes flashing with anger. I cannot stand the thought of him causing you harm like this. He looked up at her, his eyes beginning to focus. He saw the fierce determination in her gaze, and he knew she was serious. He could feel the tension in her body, her anger radiating off her like heat. He didn't know how to respond, so he simply leaned into her embrace, feeling the warmth of her body against his. For a moment, he forgot about everything else and just focused on the safety, feeling that Kiyomi's embrace provided. Tanaka relaxes in his lair, looking to the visage of his prized pupil in creation, the one that is Emiko. Emiko meets the sorcerer in his lair, and after some initial pleasantries, he remarks, "You have quite the crush on Michael, don't you?" "He is a good man," she says, blushing. She doesn't deny it. 10 times the man his father is. Yes, Jameson is a typical greedy American, I have to admit. But Michael has his own demons to battle, doesn't he? Yes, he does, but I have faith in him. He smiles. I can see that. But tell me, Emiko, why do you have no desire for a cure? What do you mean? She looks at him, surprised. You know. I know a way to break the curse on you, but you seem content to live with it. She pauses, considering his words. It is a part of me now. And besides, the curse has given me certain abilities that I've come to appreciate. I have no desire to lose them. I understand, Emiko. But remember, nothing in this world is free. There is always a price to pay. He chuckles at her words, enjoying the display of her emotions. My dear, do you believe that Michael truly is yours to claim? He is a free man, and his heart belongs to whoever he chooses. She scowls at his response. I know that, but I cannot help the way that I feel. Kiyomi is a distraction and a nuisance, and I will not allow her to come between Michael and myself. Ah, yes. He nods, his expression thoughtful. The feud between your families runs deep, does it not? And you must remember, you have to, that time changes all things. Perhaps it is time to let go of the past and embrace the present. Her eyes narrow as she considers his words. Perhaps you are right, but it is easier said than done. For now, I will focus on ensuring that Michael is safe and protected from those who would harm him. Ah, yes. He smiles enigmatically. Why do you feel so strongly for him, She flushes lightly at his words, but does not deny them. He is a good man. I respect him greatly. I only wish that he would see me in the same light. His eyes twinkle with amusement. Perhaps he does, my dear. But that is a matter for him to decide, is it not? She nods slowly. Yes, it is. A hint of resignation in her voice. But I will not give up on him easily. He merely smiles, knowing the game is far from over. Let's leave it at that. Jameson is far from done. His hatred blinds him, and he hires someone to go after Michael. The poor fool runs into Emiko first. As the man hired to kill Michael comes across Emiko in the alley, he is immediately struck by the power of the star design on her Junihito. He takes a few steps back, feeling dazed and entranced. The woman moves forward, opening her kimono to reveal the skulls inside, causing the man to freeze in place, unable to move or speak. She kisses the man, stealing his key and draining him of his life force. He moans against the kiss, but he is grabbed and pulled to her firm form with inhuman force. His life force is devoured through the kiss, his form shriveling into a crackling husk. The man falls to the floor. As he lays, paralyzed and helpless, she throws the train of her Junihito over him, covering him completely. The man's body disappears under the kimono, as Emiko stands over the spot for a moment, taking in the moment of triumph. She then vanishes into the darkness, leaving no trace of her presence behind. Michael, despite laying low, still has predictable habits. The young American is in a coffee shop, working on his laptop for a graphic he is designing. He receives a visitor. Emiko watches Michael for a moment before speaking, admiring his concentration and the intricate designs taking shape on his machine. The designs and such are work for a well-known manga producer. As she approaches him, her Junahito whispers against the floor, the sound almost as captivating as the sight of the garment itself. "Beautiful work, Michael," she says, a smile on her lips, as she takes a seat across from him. He looks up at her, surprised to see her here. He stammers for a moment before catching his voice. "Thank you, Emiko," he manages to say, his heart racing at the sight of her. He can feel her energy and power radiating from her, and he wonders what she wants from him. Emiko watches Michael, her eyes glinting in the light. She can sense his attraction to her, and she feels a rush of power and excitement. She decides to test him, see how far she can push him. Typical female thing, right? "I've been watching you, Michael," she says, leaning closer to him. "Watching your every move. I find you intriguing." Michael's heart skips a few beats at her words. He feels a flush of heat rise to his cheeks. He doesn't know what to say, but he can't look away from her. He had not expected the very un-Japanese behavior coming from this powerful woman. I don't know what to say," he says, feeling overwhelmed by her presence. Emiko smiles, her lips curving into a mischievous grin. You can see the effect she's having on him. "Say nothing, Michael," obviously enjoying what's going on. Her voice is low and husky. "Just keep drawing. I'll be watching." And with this, she rises from her seat and walks away, leaving Michael to wonder what the hell just happened. He's very uncomfortable. He finds himself unable to focus on his work, as his mind keeps replaying the interaction with Emiko in his head. He knows she is powerful and very influential. And of course, females are bold, but this is not normal. It's left him feeling very uneasy. What I mean by females is females of influence and wealth. He can't help but wonder if she knows about his feelings for Kiyomi and what her intentions might be. As he continues to work on his computer, he can't shake off the feeling that something is off. He wonders if Emiko's sudden appearance is connected to the threats he's been receiving. Could she be involved somehow? He knows he needs to stay vigilant and keep his guard up, even if his peace of mind is sacrificed. Despite his unease, he can't deny there's something intriguing about Emiko. There's a magnetic quality that draws her to him, which draws him in. He can't put his finger on it. He finds himself wondering what it'd be like to get to know her better. He pushes those thoughts aside. He knows that Kiyomi is the only woman he truly cares for at this moment. He can't let anyone come between them. With a deep sigh, he returns to his work, trying to put the encounter of Emiko out of his mind. He knows she's not someone he can easily forget. Later, in the Yamaguchi building, Emiko has returned to her luxurious office. She works on documents, different things of this and that, files, of course. Her mind is preoccupied with thoughts of the boy. She tries to push them aside and focus on the task at hand. Not happening. It's too difficult. She glances over the corner where her Junahito is stored, carefully folded and placed on a stand. The sight of it brings back memories to the night she wore it and stole the key of the man hired to kill Michael. She lets out a frustrated sigh and runs a hand through her hair. She's becoming obsessed with the boy and starting to affect her work. She can't stop thinking about it, about the way he looked at her, about the way his eyes sparkled with life. She knows it's wrong, but, he's just a human, a mortal being, and she's a supernatural entity, thanks to Tanaka, but she can't help it. There's something about him. There's something about him that draws her to him, that makes her desire to protect him. She shakes her head, trying to clear her thoughts. She needs to focus on her work, damn it, but no matter how hard she tries, she can't stop thinking about the boy. Her obsession, as she tries to make it through the hours, drives her freaking nuts. As the laptop shatters into pieces on the wall, she takes a deep breather, tries to calm herself down. She knows that her anger and jealousy towards Kiyomi is irrational, but she can't help it. She feels like Michael is slipping away from her. She can't bear the thought of losing him. She stands and walks over to the wall where her kimono was stored. She touches the silk fabric and takes a deep breath, trying to clear her thoughts. She knows she needs to find a way to deal with her emotions, but they're going to eat her up. She takes out her phone and starts to scroll through her contacts, searching for someone to talk to. After a few moments, she finds the name of the one she's looking for on the call button. Tanaka. It's me. She says when he picks up, I need your help. What is wrong? He asks. It's Michael. I can't stop thinking about him, and I'm starting to become obsessed. I don't know what to do. He tells her to come to his lair, in the madman's lair. He listens to her words and nods slowly. I understand. I will see what I can do to help you. She feels a sense of relief washing over her. She knows Tanaka is one of the few people she can trust, and hopes that he can help her to deal with her emotions. She listens to Tanaka's advice, takes a deep breath, trying to calm her emotions. She realizes that she has been pushing her feelings aside and she needs to confront them. He suggests he should try to, get Michael to come to her. She looks at him skeptically. But how can I do that? Michael has no interest in me. He is only interested in Kiyomi, she says, her voice filled with frustration. But that is where you were wrong, Emiko. Michael is a kind and compassionate man. He would never want to hurt anybody, especially someone who cares about him. He raises an eyebrow, intrigued. What are you suggesting, Tanaka? You should show Michael that you care for him. Perhaps invite him to dinner, or to one of your events. Show him that you are more than just a CEO. She thinks about it for a moment and nods slowly. I'll try it. I see. Thank you, Tanaka, for your wise advice. Of course, my dear. I am always eager to help. And with this, she asks, but what about Jameson? She asks, her expression growing concerned. Leave that alone for now, the man says, shaking his head. Just protect his son like you did before. Things will work out. But for now, leave Jameson alone. Emiko nodded, feeling a bit better with Tanaka's guidance. Thank you, Tanaka. I will try to control my emotions and reach out to Michael. She gets up from her seat and walks out of Tanaka's lair. With a newfound determination, she will show Michael that she cares for him, and maybe, just maybe, he'll start to see her in a different light. Michael receives a formally dressed visitor. The man, or servant, is impeccably dressed in a black suit with a white shirt and a black tie. He wears white gloves and carries the letter on a silver tray. He bows deeply to Michael. Excuse me, sir, presenting the tray with the letter. This letter is for you. It is from Miss Emiko Yamaguchi, he says in a respectful tone, with impeccable English. He waits, patiently for Michael's response. His body language, expression, calm, professional, neutral. Of course, he bows in return and says, "Oh, gladly accept." Later that day, Emiko's kimono changes its appearance at will to a beautiful gold and white color, matching the luxurious decor of the private event. As Michael enters the room, he is greeted by Emiko, who is wearing the stunning kimono with fur-lined sleeves. "Welcome, Michael," she says, her voice smooth and melodious. "I'm glad you can make it." Thank you for the invitation, Emiko. Your event here is lovely," he says, taken back by her beauty and stammering a response. She smiles gracefully graciously, I should say. Thank you. I have been looking forward to this opportunity to speak with you further. Your artwork is quite impressive, and I would love to hear more about your inspiration and techniques. He nods, feeling nervous but intrigued by Emiko's interest in his work. They continue to converse throughout the evening, and he feels himself drawn to her intelligence and her charm. The night draws to a close, and she extends an invitation for Michael to, visit her office and view some of her own collection of art. He accepts, understandably, feeling a sense of excitement and intrigue at the prospect of getting to know Emiko better. For so to say, she has that natural magnetic pull. Emiko notices the way Michael's eyes linger on her kimono, and she smiles coyly, pleased with his reaction. She takes a step closer to him, the silk of her kimono rustling as she moves. The garment sweeps the floor several feet behind her, longer than he is tall, his 5'6" height. Thank you for coming, Michael, she says, her voice low and sultry. I've been eagerly anticipating our meeting. He tries to keep his composure, but he can feel his heart racing. He knows he's out of his depth here with this powerful woman, but he is unable to resist her allure. It's my pleasure, Emiko, he says, his voice betraying his nerves. She laughs softly. He can feel the sound resonating from within him. Please, do not be so formal, she says, moving closer to him. We are both artists, are we not? Let us talk as equals. He nods, feeling a bit more at ease that the pressure of formalities have been lifted. He takes a deep breath and begins to speak, sharing his passion of art and design with Emiko. As they converse, she cannot, help but be drawn to his charm and his talent. She begins to see him as more than just a talented artist, but as a potential partner and ally. But even as she enjoys their conversation, she can't shake the feeling that something is not right or amiss. She knows that there are forces at work that are beyond her control, and her obsession with Michael may be leading her down a dangerous path. As Michael follows Emiko into the other room, his eyes are fixed on the intricate designs of her kimono. But as she turns around, it falls open, revealing a sleek black bodysuit underneath. The bodysuit reveals a slim, toned form. His breath catches in his throat as he catches the glimpse of the skulls of the lining on the kimono, their hypnotic gaze drawing him in. She notices his fascination with the skulls and steps closer, her voice low and seductive. I've been watching you, Michael. I cannot let you go. His heart races. He feels her breath on his skin. He should be afraid. He knows this. There's something about Emiko that draws him in. He is powerless to resist her. Michael feels a rush of adrenaline as Emiko's arm slips around his shoulders and he is enveloped by the luxurious folds of her junihito. He can't help but notice the sweet, heady scent of her perfume, and the way her black bodysuit contrasts against the shimmering gold and white of her kimono. As they walk, he can feel the weight of the skulls inside of the lining of her kimono. Honestly, it's almost like they were pulling him towards her. He tries to resist, but he cannot look away from the intricate designs and patterns woven into the fabric. They reach her private office. Emiko allows her kimono to fall open to reveal the skulls inside. He feels himself slipping into a trance-like state. He cannot help but be drawn to her, completely entranced by the hypnotic power of the garment. It's only when she speaks again that he snaps out of it, his heart racing with a mixture of fear and desire. She speaks in a low, seductive voice. She reveals her desire for Michael. She explains that he has been watching him for many years, ever since she first saw him, and that she still feels a strong connection between them. As she speaks, she runs her fingers through his hair and strokes his cheek with her sharp, manicured nails. He can feel the heat of her body and the silky smoothness of her skin to the fabric of her kimono. Her voice is hypnotic. He finds himself drawn into her web of desire. He can't resist the temptation to touch. How can I say this the best way? He cannot resist the temptation of her touch and the intensity of her gaze. She leans in and whispers in his ear, "Come with me, Michael. Let me show you the depths of my desire." He's not stupid. He notices similarities between between the way the two women's kimonos work. It is obvious they're way beyond human. Miss Emiko, do you know a woman named Kiyomi? Emiko's eyes narrow slightly at the mention of her name, but she keeps her composure. Kiyomi has nothing to do with this. You are here with me now, and you belong to me. She tightens her grip on his shoulder slightly and leans in close to him, her breath hot on his ear. I've been watching you for a very long time, Michael. I know everything about you, everything you've done, and I want you, and I need you. He feels powerless under Emiko's seductive influence. He finds himself wrapped tightly in her kimono, unable to resist her advances. The hypnotic skulls and the lining of the garment seem to amplify her power over him, and he surrenders to her desires. The next morning, Michael wakes up disoriented and confused, unsure of what had happened the night before. He notices that he is still dressed in his clothes from the previous night. His memory is hazy. He stands up to leave. He feels a sharp pain on his back and notices scratch marks from Emiko's sharp nails everywhere else on his body. There's a business card laying there on the bed. It, of course, belongs to Emiko, with a black lipstick kiss from her full lips on the back. He realizes he needs to get the hell out of this situation and away from Emiko's influence. He feels very uneasy, and he wonders about what other dark secrets this woman's hiding. He finds himself struggling with very conflicting emotions. He felt intense pleasure, make no mistake. Her scent lingers with him and on him. The memory of their passion fills his mind. On the other hand, he feels traumatized with the encounter. He feels violated and used, and the thought of her true nature frightens him. He tries to sort through his emotions. He cannot ignore the fact that he still has feelings for Kiyomi. He decides he needs to distance himself from both these women and figure out what he truly wants. He's struggling with very conflicting emotions. He can't deny the intense pleasure he felt with Emiko. Her scent lingers on him, and the link is just there. On the other hand, no. He tries to sort through these emotions. He decides that he cannot ignore the fact he still has feelings for Kiyomi. That's for sure. Strong feelings. He needs to distance himself, and he heads back to his motel room fast. Emiko sat in her office, surrounded by her trinkets and artifacts. The rustle of her heavy kimono signaled the arrival of Kiyomi, who strode into the room with a scowl on her face. "What are you doing, Emiko?" she demanded, her voice sharp. She raised an eyebrow, seemingly unfazed by the woman's presence. "Whatever do you mean, my dear?" she replied, her voice silky smooth. "I'm simply conducting my business as usual." "Don't play coy with me," Kiyomi shot back. "I know you've been meddling with Michael." Emiko's expression turned smug. "Ah, you mean our little toy. What of him?" "He is mine," Kiyomi said, her voice firm. "Leave him alone, or I will kill you." She chuckled, amused by Kiyomi's demands, obviously. "My dear Kiyomi, you have no idea what you're up against. Michael belongs to no one but me." "You're playing with fire," Kiyomi said, her eyes narrowing. "Don't forget who I am." "Oh, I never forget." "But you would do well to remember that I am not one to be trifled with." The two women glared at each other for a few tense moments before Kiyomi finally turned on her heel and stormed out of the room. Emiko calls out to her, halting her. Emiko's eyes flash with anger at Kiyomi's earlier words. "You speak so casually about murder. But I know the truth, Kiyomi. You killed my family out of jealousy, because you couldn't stand to see me happy. Kiyomi's eyes narrow. She doesn't deny the accusation. Michael is mine, she says firmly, and I won't let you take him from me. Emiko just laughs. We'll see about that. I always get what I want, Kiyomi, and right now, I want Michael. He doesn't respond. He simply turns and leaves the room, her kimono swishing behind her. Emiko watches her go, a small smile on her lips. She knows that Kiyomi won't give up, but she's ready for whatever comes next. With a frown on her face, the office with a frown on her face, her fists clenched in frustration. As she steps outside, she looks up to the sky and lets out a screaming, piercing shriek of anger and anguish. This is a rare display of emotion from the normally reserved and stoic woman. She knows that her confrontation with Emiko was a warning, and the other woman is not to be underestimated. She knows that she cannot let Emiko get her way with Michael. She takes a deep breath and composes herself, steeling a resolve to do whatever it takes to keep Michael safe. Kiyomi disappears into the night, her heavy kimono rustling as she goes. Michael goes out to clear his thoughts for obvious reasons. He comes back a few hours later. He sees that he is not alone the moment he opens the door. Kiyomi sobs uncontrollably, her body racked with deep shaking. He can feel the waves of her grief emanating from her. He hesitates, unsure what to do, but he can't bear to see her in such pain. Kiyomi, he says softly, please, let me help you. She looks up at him from where she sits, her eyes filled with tears. I don't know if you can, she says, her voice choked with emotion. I don't know if anyone can. He sits down beside of her, still giving her space. Please, let me try. Tell me, what's wrong? Kiyomi takes a deep breath and wipes away her tears. It's just that I've been holding on to so much pain and anger for so long, it's hard for me to let it go. He nods sympathetically. I understand, but you don't have to do it alone. I'm here for you, Kiyomi. She looks at him, her eyes shining with gratitude. Thank you, she says softly. I don't know what I would do without you. They sit in silence for a while. Kiyomi gradually calming down. Finally, she stands up and looks at him. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to burden you with all of this. He shakes his head. You're not a burden, Kiyomi. I care about you and I want to help you. Kiyomi gives him a small, smile. Thank you, she says again, and then leaves the room, her kimono trailing behind her. As Michael calls out for Kiyomi not to leave, she turns to face him with tears streaming down her face. Look, don't go. She looks at him and shakes her head. I have to go. I can't stay here and watch you be with her. Michael takes a few steps closer to her, but I don't want to be with her. I want to be with you. Why? She looks down at him with a mixture of surprise and sadness. Because I care about you. I know we have a connection, and I don't want to lose that. Her expression softens slightly. I care about you too, but I don't want to come between you and Emiko. She's dangerous, and I don't want to see you get hurt. Michael shakes his head. I don't care about that, he says. I just want to be with you, okay? Please. Don't leave. Kiyomi looks down, her eyes filling with tears once more. I can't promise anything, but I'll stay for now. He smiles, relieved. Thank you. He says, taking her hand in his own, I'll do everything I can to protect you. Kiyomi squeezes his hand back, a small smile appearing on her face. I know you will, but just remember, we're in this together. She clutches the shorter man to her, and pulls the kimono around them both. She leans down and whispers, in his ear. I love you, Michael. I know I haven't shown it well, but I do. I did from the time you saved my life, I think. He's surprised with the sudden confession, but he can hear the sincerity in her voice. He looks up at her and sees tears in her eyes. I know I've made mistakes. I've hurt people, including you, but I want to make it up to you. I want to be with you. He's conflicted. He still feels drawn to Emiko, can't deny his feelings for Kiyomi. He takes a deep breath and looks up at her. Kiyomi, I don't know what to say. I'm still trying to process everything. I understand. Take your time, she says softly. But please don't leave me. I need you. He looks into her eyes and the vulnerability and pain he sees there. He knows he can't just abandon her, especially everything they've been through together. He leans in and kisses her, very gently. I won't leave you, he says. But we have to figure this out together. I can't keep going back between you and Emiko. It's not fair either to you or to me. I understand, she says, nodding. And I'm willing to fight for you, Michael. I'll do whatever it takes to make you mine. He nods, feeling a sense of relief that they are at least finally talking about their feelings openly. He leans in and kisses her again, knowing they will have a long road ahead of them. Also hopeful they can make it work. Time passes, and Kiyomi tells Michael that she has to take care of something, but she will return. Michael, being the easygoing doormat he is, has no issue with this. Kiyomi enters the room with a rustle of her kimono, and Jameson cowers in fear. What do you want from me? He stammers. I want you to suffer, Kiyomi says, or replies, her voice cold and threatening. You betrayed Michael, and for that you will pay. I will never forget what you did. He trembles as she approaches him, her hand reaching out to touch his remaining ear, the other one she had sliced off not even 2 days ago. Please, I'm sorry. I didn't know what else to do. She scoffs at his words. Sorry means nothing to me. You will live with the consequences of your actions for the rest of your life. With a final glare, Kiyomi turns and leaves, the sound of her kimono fading as she disappears into the night. Jameson he's left alone, trembling in fear and regret. He calls out to her, halting her in her steps. I get it now. I recognize you. You're the woman he damn near got killed for. 2 years ago. He helped you. You're the one who made him weak as he is now. Her eyes narrow. Weak? You stupid fucking gaijin fool. He helped me. I was in a position where I would have been raped. And worse by those men. He shoots back. And he spent 2 months in the goddamn hospital because of you. That boy is a genius when it comes to art. He wasn't able to do anything. And Phoenix Enterprises, my company, almost went down because of it. The woman who was tall enough to stare the 5'11" man, Jameson Lee, in the eye, sneers in response. My company this. My company that. You only care about what he can give you. No wonder he signed his share over. He didn't want the entity that he created to die. Who will have that type of memory for you when is your time? With that, she disappears into the night, leaving Jameson alone to his thoughts. Emiko meets with the old sorcerer Tanaka, seeking his advice on taking Michael as her own. He warns her to be careful and reminds her that the path of power she has chosen is a dangerous one. She explodes in rage, insisting that Michael belongs to her and she will have him at any cost. I will not be stopped, Tanaka-san. She says, her voice cold and filled with determination. I have waited too long for this. Michael is mine, and no one will stand in my way. He sighs, knowing there's no reasoning with her once her mind is made up. He offers her a small piece of advice before she leaves. Remember, Emiko-san, the true power lies in the ability to control oneself. If you lose control, you lose everything. She brushes off his words and leaves. Her mind consumed the thoughts of, Michael and the power she will gain by taking him as her own. He looks up from his laptop and sees Emiko standing in front of him. He feels a twinge of fear, but remains calm. "What do you want, Emiko?" he asks. She smiles, her lips this time painted a bright red. "I just wanted to see you, Michael. Don't you miss me?" He shakes his head. "I don't want anything to do with you, Emiko. Please, leave me alone." Her smile fades into a frown. "You belong to me, Michael. You always have, and you always will." He stands up from his seat, gathering his laptop and bag. "I don't belong to anyone, Emiko. Not you or anyone else. Just leave me alone. You can't walk away from me," she says, grabbing his arm. "You know that, Michael." He pulls away his arm and glares at her. "I can and I will. Leave me alone, Emiko." He walks out of the coffee shop, leaving Emiko standing there with a look of anger on her face. Before he can truly leave, she snaps open a fan, revealing the intricate designs of skulls in the fabric. Hypnotizing effect immediately takes hold of the boy, leaving him vulnerable to her control. She leans in, smirking, speaking in a low, almost seductive voice. "You will follow me," she says, her words laced with a sense of command. "You will come with me willingly, and you will be mine." Michael feels a strange pull towards Emiko, his mind clouded and unable to resist her words. He nods his head almost instinctively and begins to gather his things, ready to follow her wherever she leads him. As Michael is under the influence of her hypnotic fan, he's powerless. Resists as she throws open her kimono and tightens him, pulls him into a tight embrace. He feels the softness of the silk against his skin and the sweet fragrance of her perfume. And with this, she pulls him closer. "I never give my body freely to anyone, Michael. You belong to me, and I will have you. Don't resist me." He struggles to break free, but she's too strong. He tries to reason with her. "Please, Emiko, this isn't right. You're mine now, Michael. You can't escape me." And with a sudden movement, she throws her kimono open and yanks him further into her embrace, concealing him from view. In the next moment, they disappear through a shadowy portal, leaving behind the coffee shop and all that Michael knows. Emiko smirks as Michael awakens and looks around the room. She explains that she is a powerful sorceress, and she owes her abilities to the old sorcerer, Tanaka. She runs her very sharp nails along the armrests of the chair as she speaks. "He taught me everything I know," she said with a chuckle. "I use my powers to get what I want, like you, Michael." He looks at her with a mixture of fear and confusion. He's not comprehending everything she's saying. He asks her what she wants from him. She walks over to him, looking down at him, but she's standing up and he's sitting down. "I want you, Michael. I've wanted you since the first time I saw you. And now that I have you, I'm not going to let you go." He tries to protest, but she silences him with a wave of her hand. She continues to explain about Kiyomi and what she had done to her family back in feudal Japan. Kiyomi thinks that she can take everything from me, but she's wrong. But she'll never take you from me. She calmly opens her kimono to reveal the horrifying sight of faces moaning in pain. In the lining, Michael's terror grows. He realizes he is dealing with a powerful and dangerous being. She looks at him with cold eyes and says, "They all said the same thing as you, Michael. But they eventually came to realize that they belonged to me, just like you do now." She looks at him with a sly smile. "Your father and his business dealings are of no concern to me. They were originally, of course. But then I found it was you behind the true results of the amazing art being generated by Phoenix Enterprises." She taps her chin with a long nail. "Your kindness is another factor. Your desire to help and please others. Now I only desire you, Michael. You have a power over me that I have never experienced before." He furrows his brow in confusion. What power could I possibly have over you? She laughs softly and runs her fingers through his hair. You have a kindness and purity of heart that is rare in this world. You are different than other men I have known. And I find myself drawn to you in a way that I cannot explain. But why go through all this? Why kidnap me and bring me here against my will? She pulls out a nail file from her massive kimono sleeves and begins filing her nails down, the sound grating on Michael's nerves. You see, Michael, Kiyomi is just jealous of me. She knows I'll take better care of you. You'll want for nothing, ever. She then leans in, close to him, and runs a finger down his cheek. And you'll love me for it, she whispers. At Jameson's luxurious motel suite, he looks up from his seat and sees Kiyomi standing in front of him. He feels a shiver run down his spine, knowing that he's been caught. What are you doing here? She walks towards him, her eyes cold and unforgiving. I warned you to stay away from Michael, and yet here we are. He tries to protest. She cuts him off. Don't bother denying it. I know what you're planning. You're going to kill your own son just because he's with Emiko, and sign his share of the company to her. He simply desired to see it thrive without you destroying it. That's none of your business, he snarls. It is my business. He's under my protection, and I will not let you harm him. He is not my son. He is a disgrace to me and my family. He's now brought shame upon us by being with that woman. Oh, you mean Emiko? What do you have against her, other than the fact he sold his share to her? I know what she is. I know what she's capable of, and I will not have her corrupting him any further. And what of your own corruption, Jameson? What will killing your son do for you? It will restore my honor, something you nips know surprisingly little of. It will show the world that I will not tolerate such behavior in my family. And what of your love for him? Your duty as a father. Love, duty, what does that matter now? He's a stain on my family's legacy. Think about what you're saying. There must be another way to handle this. There is no other way. I've made up my mind. Michael must be eliminated. She pulls an atano from her voluminous sleeve and presses it to Jameson's nose, threatening to cut it off. He looks at her with fear and pleads for mercy. Please, Kiyomi, don't do this. All bravado is gone. I warned you to stay away from Michael. You didn't listen. Her voice is low and dangerous. You're lucky I'm not taking your life right now. I'll leave Japan. I swear it. Just let me go. You have 12 hours to do that. He swallows hard, the blade his eyes fixed on the blade of his nose. If you're still here after that, I won't hesitate to end you. And with this, he nods slowly, his hand shaking as he brings them up to his mutilated face. Thank you. She turns and walks away with no other word, the tanto disappearing into her sleeve as she goes. Michael awakens exhausted, feeling weak despite the fact he's fed well by Emiko's servants and is kept clean. He sees her laying beside of him. Michael feels himself sinking into the folds of the Junohito and the softness of Emiko's hair. She drapes it over him. The scent of her perfume envelops him, and he feels a sense of comfort despite his predicament. She leans in, closer to him, and whispers into his ear, You belong to me, Michael. Don't fight it. I'll take care of you, and you'll never want for anything. Her lips brush against his forehead, and he feels a shiver down his spine. He closes his eyes, trying to clear his mind, but the sensation of her lips on his skin lingers, clouding over his thoughts. Tanaka decides to pay Kiyomi a visit in the geisha house she runs. You should have taken my offer, Kiyomi. Now you're in deep trouble. I don't need your help. I will deal with Emiko myself. You can't even control your own emotions, let alone a powerful sorceress like Emiko. You're a joke. I will find a way to stop her. And when I do, you'll regret ever crossing me. Good luck with that. You're nothing but a joke compared to her. You just... Good luck with that. You're nothing compared to her. You should just give up and accept your fate as a lowly geisha. The woman scoffs and tells Tanaka she will not let Emiko have Michael. She said that he should not underestimate her power. Tanaka chuckles and tells her that she has always been powerless and that her gifts are nothing compared to Emiko. She stands up and draws a sharp breath, warning Tanaka, the insane wizard, to never underestimate her again. He merely smiles and leaves, leaving Kiyomi to contemplate her next move alone. Jameson knows he must flee for America soon. He decides to try one last time to have his son killed for betraying him. He meets a small, compact man, a well-known killer. What do you mean you know them? Are you working with them? The assassin responds. No, I am not working with them, but I know them both. They're powerful women who will not hesitate to seek revenge. You do not want to be on their bad side. I don't care about their power. I want my son dead, and I'll pay whatever it takes to make that happen. It is not worth the risk. I suggest you reconsider. I am not reconsidering anything. Do you want the job or not? No. I will not risk my life for your foolishness. A rich dead man is still a dead man. And with that, the assassin turns and walks away, leaving Jameson to his thoughts. He turns back to his suite to gather his things. He finds his company. The large man, a very large Japanese man, kicks down his door and says in a deep, threatening voice, Emiko desires to see you. Follow me. He's too frightened to resist and follows the man out of his room and down the hallway. As they walk, he can hear the sound of katanas being unsheathed and knows he's in great danger. One is leveled at his throat. He isn't dumb. He simply nods. He's tossed into a very nice car and taken to Emiko's home. He steps out of the car. He takes in the grandeur of the woman's home. He is led to a room where she is waiting for him. She is dressed in an elegant, massive kimono, with her hair styled in a traditional Shimada updo. She greets him with a polite bow, and motions for him to sit down. He takes a seat, unsure what to expect. She tells him point blank she knows what he's been planning, it ain't gonna work. She has spies everywhere, including his own home. He tries to deny it, but she laughs. She's already taken care of him. Everything. She offers him a deal. Leave Japan, never come back. Return, she'll spare his life. Then Kiyomi gave him, didn't she give him the same chance? She asks. He considers the offer, but in the end he has nowhere really to go at this point. He's stuck between a rock and a hard place. He decides to take his chances and make a run for it. Emiko, her guards quickly nab him. He's dragged back to Emiko's presence. He realizes he's made a grave mistake. He should have listened to Kiyomi and stayed away from her. Too late. Now he can only wait for his fate to be decided by the woman he once desired. Her men grab Jameson and force him to his knees in front of her. She sighs, looking down at him. You have caused enough trouble. You have interfered in things that do not concern you. You will pay for your actions. He looks up at her in fear and terror. Please, I admit, I screwed up. I'll leave Japan and never come back, I promise. It is too late. You should have thought about the consequences before you acted. Now you must face them. She watches him with a mix of disgust and amusement. She sneers at him and says, You desired me, didn't you? You wanted to possess me, to own me. But look at yourself now, a groveling dog at my feet. She pauses for a moment, letting her words sink in. Emiko definitely has a flair for the dramatic. It is what it is. But I would never allow a disgusting pig like you to touch me. You are unworthy of my beauty and my power. As she speaks, the folds of her junihito slowly fall open, revealing the macabre skulls and twisted faces screaming from within the lining. The sight's haunting and memorizing, and Jameson cannot help but stare at it's just pure terror. He pleads for his life, understandably. But the woman remains cool, very cruel and calculating, her eyes flashing with a very cold glint. She raises her hand. It's too late for begging. You should have thought of that before you crossed me. Emiko's men tighten their grip on the man, holding him firmly in place as she draws a razor-sharp, looking very deadly, horrific-looking blade from her obi. The blade glints in the dim light of the room, casting an eerie, otherworldly glow across the walls. You will pay for your foolishness, and your life force will be in the folds of my Junahito forever. And with this, she plunges the blade in the man's chest. He gurgles and cries in agony, his body convulsing as blood gushes from the wound. She watches with a cold, detached expression as the man's life drains away before her eyes, staining her kimono with a dark, sticky pool of blood. Her massive kimono's lining beginning to suck out his ki. His body shrivels to the dimensions of a desiccated mummy. Emiko watches the man's ki being absorbed into the screaming faces within the lining of her Junahito. She stands there for a moment, taking in the power that courses through her body. Her men, understandably, are terrified, watching the display that unfolds before them. She closes the garment and turns to face her men. Clean this mess up, and be sure to dispose of the body properly. Her men nod slowly and move towards the corpse. Their the fear of their mistress is in the air, is palpable. She watches a moment longer before turning and gliding out of the room, her Junahito flowing behind her like a river of darkness. As Emiko is occupied with the actions of consuming Jameson's ki, Michael is able to escape from the woman's lavish home. He hurries to the only place he can go, his old motel room that he rented after the fallout with his paw. As Michael reads the letter on his bed, he feels a mixture of relief and anxiety. He's glad to have gotten out of Emiko's home. He's anxious about what Kiyomi wants to tell him. He takes a deep breath and tries to calm himself down. The motel room is dimly lit, and a single flickering light bulb casting shadows on the peeling wallpaper. The air is thick with the smell of stale cigarettes and cheap whiskey. Michael sits down on the edge of the bed and begins to read the letter again, his eyes scanning the elegant curves of the woman's handwriting. The address she gave him is for a geisha house on the outskirts of the city. He's never been to one before, but he knows enough to be intrigued. He wonders what she has in store for him, as she can still be trusted. As he stands up to leave, he notices a framed photograph on the nightstand. It's a picture of him and his mama, taken when he was a kid. His mother's smile is radiant. He can feel that warmth in the photo. He's lost in thought, remembering the happy times he had with his mama before she, died. He then shakes himself out of his own reverie and heads for the door. He can't afford to be distracted now. Whatever Kiyomi has to tell him, he needs to hear it. Needless to say, at the geisha house, as Michael watches Kiyomi teach the Michael the fan dance, he is struck by her elegance and her grace. Her movements are fluid, effortless, precise control. She wears a simple but elegant outfit that accentuates her natural beauty. And her hair is styled in a way that is both traditional and somewhat modern. The usual massive Uchikaki style kimono she has is not currently on her or part of her attire. You can't help but be entranced by her. He feels a strong connection to her, and he knows that he needs to find the truth out about what's going on. As Kiyomi finishes the lesson and dismisses the Maiko, she turns to Michael and greets him with a warm smile. Hello, Michael. I'm glad you came, she says, beckoning him to follow her to a private room. He follows her, his heart racing with anticipation. Her eyes glittered with amusement at Michael's question. I am not a true geisha, Michael-san. I am the Okiya, the manager of this Okaya. She gestured to the luxurious surroundings, Tommy mats, and the exquisite decor of the geisha house. She then slipped on her Uchikaki over her shoulders The fabric rustled softly as she moved. He was struck at how regal she looked. "Come," she said, beckoning him with a slender hand. "Let us talk in private." She led him to a small room with shoji screens and cushions on the floor, and motioned for him to sit beside of her. He sits beside of her, and she pulls him forward and kisses him deeply. Unrestrained in private situations, her full, soft lips pressed against his, and her hands run through his hair, pulling him closer, the sleeves of her yukikaki enveloping him, cocooning him in the fabric. He feels the weight of the garment pressing down on him. It's a comforting weight, a symbol of her power and protection. She pushes him back onto the mat. He sinks into its softness. The folds of her kimono flow over him like a river of silk. The colors swirl and blend together. Reds and golds and blues and purples. He feels like he's drowning in the fabric, but he doesn't want to be rescued. As the kiss deepens, she breaks it finally. She bites her lip, trembling. Michael simply embraces her tightly as she places a long finger to his lips. He wakes up. He finds himself enveloped in the dark folds of Kiyomi's massive kimono, which she had wrapped around him tightly. He can feel her arms around him, like she's holding on for dear life. He can sense her fear of losing him. The room is lit by it's like a single lantern, casting shadows along the walls. The air is very thick with the sense of incense, and the sound of crickets can be heard. He looks up at her face close to his own. You can see the concern which is etched on her feelings. Not her feelings, but her features. "I didn't mean for this to happen, Michael. I never wanted you involved with any of this. But I couldn't help myself. I had to have you." She doesn't add that her and Emiko are somewhat linked due to what Tanaka had done, altering their bodies and their souls. She knew the boy had been claimed by Emiko and used her own body in a desperate gambit to at least have one memorable moment with him should something happen beyond her control. This is the first time she has ever done such an act. She leans down and kisses him tenderly. He should be afraid. He knows this. He should run as far away from this woman as possible. He can't deny the feelings he has for her. He can't help himself. The kimono envelops him further. He embraces Kiyomi, knowing that his fate is now irrevocably tied to her own. Kiyomi circles around Michael, and he pulls her into a protective embrace. He asks her about his father. "What happened to my father?" "I'm sorry, Michael." Her expression is solemn. "Emiko has killed him." She admits with a sigh, "I am glad that he is dead. But you did not deserve to have your father taken from you." She embraces him, pulling him close, resting her chin on his head. "I will help you find the answers that you seek, but you must be careful. Emiko will not stop until she has what she wants." She holds him close, feeling his ears dampening the collar of her kimono. She strokes his hair, murmuring comforting words as he grieves for his father. She keeps him wrapped tightly in the folds of her kimono, offering him solace and protection from the world outside. When they wake up, she swings her leg over his hip, caressing his cheek, telling him that she must explain the past between Emiko and herself. It will explain why Emiko killed Jameson. Kiyomi reveals that Emiko always held a higher position than her, but she thought Emiko was a freak due to her towering height. Emiko had also killed Emiko's family, which only fueled the woman's hatred. Even though she hated Jameson, Kiyomi says that Emiko had no right to kill him. He looks up, at her, understanding in his eyes as he asks what they should do next. She speaks about Tanaka. He nods in understanding, knowing the sorcerer's reputation all too well. "He may know something about Emiko's plans. I have to find out what she's after." "I'll come with you," he says, taking her hand, and face him together. "Thank you, Michael." You are truly a kind soul. They leave the geisha house and make their way to Tanaka's lair. He's waiting for them, his face twisted in a sneer. What do you want? Kiyomi stands tall, her gaze steady. I need information about Emiko. She's up to something and I need to know what it is. And why should I help you? He chuckles darkly. Because I know you have your own agenda. You always do. He considers her words a moment before nodding curtly. Very well. I may have heard a whisper or two, but it will cost you. She reaches into her obi and produces a pouch of gold coins. Will this do? He very calmly snatches the pouch from her hand and counts the coins, grunting in satisfaction. It will definitely suffice. Emiko is after a powerful artifact. I don't know what it is, he lies, but I know where she is going to find it. Where? That's not a part of the deal. You have your information. Now leave me be. Kiyomi and Michael turn to leave, but not before. Kiyomi sends a warning glance back at the sorcerer. Remember, Tanaka, you owe me a favor. Don't forget it. As they walk away, he can't feel Michael. He can't help but feel a sense of unease. As they walk away, Michael can't help but feel a sense of unease. What would Emiko be after, and how are they going to stop her? As they ponder on what to do, Emiko, furious that Michael has escaped her, takes it out on his father's soul. As James's soul is trapped within Emiko's subconscious, she begs her to release him. But she only laughs and tells him that he will suffer for what he did to Michael for an eternity. Please, Emiko, release me from this torment, he pleads. Release you? After what you did to Michael? You will suffer for an eternity, just like the rest of them. It was a mistake. I didn't mean for it to happen. It doesn't matter. You still hurt him, and now you will pay the price. He continues to plead, but she ignores him, reveling in the power she holds over him, and the others, whose key she has devoured with her Junihito. Back to Michael and Kiyomi. She looks to Michael, sensing his hesitation. I know you're afraid, Michael, but you must understand, if Emiko gets her hand on that hairpin, she'll be unstoppable. Kiyomi, due to her link with Emiko, quickly found out about the artifact. She'll use it to gain even more power and control, and she won't stop until she gets what she wants. What if she finds out? What if she hurts me? I won't let that happen. I'll be with you every step of the way. She places a hand on his shoulder. But we have to act fast, before it's too late. I don't know if I can do this, Kiyomi, he says. He looks up at her, his eyes filled with uncertainty. Yes, you can, Michael. I believe in you. She gives him a reassuring smile. Okay, let's do this, he says, determination setting in. Kiyomi nods in agreement. Good. We'll need a plan. Back at the motel room, he types furiously on his laptop, pulling up images of the hairpin on the screen. This is the last place it was seen, he says, pointing to an image of a temple in Osaka. But even if we find it, how can we stop her? With the hairpin in her possession, Emiko will become nearly invincible. She sat beside him as she replied. Kiyomi's long legs crossed gracefully. We have to try. We cannot let her continue to harm innocent people and trap their souls. Not like this. Michael nodded slowly, his eyes fixed on the screen. But sure enough, I'm brave enough for this, but I'm gonna try. I can't let her hurt anyone else. She placed a hand on her shoulder. You're not alone in this. We will stop her together. Michael quickly types a list of everything they may need to bring with them to the temple, including possible weapons, but more protective gear than anything else. As he's doing this, she looks over his shoulder. I have to say, Michael, I'm impressed by your thoroughness. You know how to plan ahead. This is something I learned from my dad. He was in the military, so I picked up a few things from him. It's a good thing you did, she says, nodding. We're going to need every advantage we can get to stop Emiko and get the Eye of the Raven. He finishes the list and turns to her. Ready? I am, she says, determination, etched into her face. Let's get that hairpin and stop her, once and for all. He turns and takes a deep breath. looking to face Michael. There's something I need to tell you. When you saved me 2 years ago, I felt something for you. But now that I know you as a grown man, I'm afraid to lose you. I know it's selfish, but I can't help the way I feel. Kiyomi, I didn't know. I'm flattered, but I'm not sure what to say. Kiyomi, Emiko has a hold on me, and I don't know if I can break it. She takes his hand and looks at him right in the eyes. Michael, I understand. We have to stop her. She's not just after the Eye of the Raven. She's after you too. And if we don't stop her, she'll do whatever it takes to keep you under her control. You're right, Kiyomi. We have to stop her for, Dad, Jameson, and all the others she hurts. She gives him a small smile. Thank you, Michael. I'm glad we're in on this together. Michael and Kiyomi make their way to the shrine in Osaka. It takes many days, but Kiyomi has them go via private jet. The pilot knows about the massive kimono that makes the woman seem so out of place, yet she pays him to be quiet. As they relax in the jet, Kiyomi squeezes Michael's hand and tells him about, the fact they should be there quite soon and not be afraid. He agrees, and he asks her how she found out about the hairpin anyway. She replies, I have my sources, Michael, you know that. I may not be as powerful as Emiko, but I have my way of finding things out. I trust you, Kiyomi. What if Emiko's already there? Don't worry, Michael. I have a feeling we'll be able to get Eye of the Raven without really any trouble. And if Emiko shows up, we'll be ready for her. Michael nods again and looks out the window. It's hard to believe that this is all real, that I'm actually here doing this. I know what you mean. It's not every day that you get to go on an adventure like this. But we're doing it for a good reason, Michael. We have to stop her from getting that hairpin. I know, I just hope we're not too late. We won't be. She puts a hand on his shoulder. We'll get there in time, I promise. As the jet lands, they make their way to the shrine. He can't help but feel a sense of unease. He knows that Emiko is very powerful and lethal. He's not sure if he's ready to face her. He can't let Kiyomi face her alone. Together they step into the shrine, ready for whatever lays ahead. He nods slowly, taking in Kiyomi's story of her own history when she was born. I can understand how different things were back then. What about you? What about now? You're the head of a geisha house, but you still kill people. She looks away, her expression troubled. It's not something I'm proud of. But it's a means to an end. I have to protect my girls, and sometimes that means taking matters into my own hands. Also, such things do not pay for themselves. I've had to use my skills from the past, from so long ago, on those that deserve it, but still, it has paid well and kept my talent sharp. I couldn't fake my way out of a paper bag. I think he saw that 2 years ago. She is then the Kiyomi sighs and then smirks. I know. That is why you are going to be taught to handle yourself. She pokes his cheek playfully. As you know, I put everything into what I do. It will be a rough lesson, but you will come to enjoy it. I believe. He swats her hip in amusement. It's then that he grows serious. But what if there's another way? He asks, his voice gentle. What if we could find a way to stop Emiko without killing her, without hurting anyone? Kiyomi's eyes widen at the suggestion, and for a moment she seems lost in thought. She nods slowly. I suppose it's worth a try, but where do we even begin? Well, I know you and Emiko are linked through supernatural means, and you said some guy named Tanaka augmented both of you somehow, right? That you and her, that her and you both are centuries old. Nothing else, but there has to be something. She sighs, taking a deep breath, looking to Michael. I killed Emiko's family because I had no choice. She says, her voice quiet but resolute. Back then I was a warrior, and my loyalty was to my own family. Emiko's family was from a rival clan. We were at war. It was kill or be killed, Michael. I didn't want to do it, but I had to protect my own family. She pauses for a moment, collecting her thoughts. That was a long time ago. I've done terrible things in my life. But I've also done good. I've built what you gaijin would call a geisha house, given women a place to live and work, where they're treated with respect. I've done what I can to atone for my past. But Emiko, she's different. She's consumed by darkness, by her own thirst for power, and she'll do anything to get what she wants, even if it means destroying everything in her path. As soon as they enter the temple, Kiyomi senses the presence of two men who work for Emiko. She notices her, Michael notices her sudden change in mannerisms and becomes alert. Before he can even react, two men lunge at them with sharp blades. Kiyomi very calmly and quickly unsheathes that bladed fan and strikes the first man in the chest, causing him to fall to the ground with a loud thud. She then draws her tanto and stabs the man in the neck, silencing him forever. The room falls silent, and Michael is left in shock at Kiyomi's swift and deadly actions. She calmly sheathes her weapons and folds the fan. She turns to Michael. We must hurry. Emiko is close. He nods slowly, still reeling from the sudden violence. He follows her deeper into the temple, his heart racing with fear and excitement. She calmly tosses the train of her kimono over the two dead men as the folds envelop them, causing them to vanish. Michael was shocked to see this, but Kiyomi explains that he needs to remember she must feed on their ki to stay alive. Kiyomi's attention was drawn to a glowing object in the room. It was the Eye of the Raven, the artifact they'd come to retrieve. She grabbed it and tucked it into her kimono. Let's go, she said, leading Michael out of the temple. As they walked out, Kiyomi noticed that the Eye of the Raven resonated with power, and she could tell that was a dangerous artifact. They made their way back to the jet and took off into the night sky. Michael looked over at Kiyomi, who had a similar, very serious expression on her face. What's wrong? We have to be careful with this artifact. It's more powerful than I thought. And with this, in the jet, Michael turns to Kiyomi with a look of concern on his face. What does the Eye of Raven do? In the hands of a powerful sorceress like Emiko, it could stop time and allow her to call forth the souls trapped in her Junahito to life. We must act fast before she gets her hands on it. We have to figure a way to keep it out of her reach, obviously. She narrows her eyes, and she thinks a moment before answering. We must find a way to destroy it. It's the only way to keep her from using this power for her own gain. Let's do it. We can't let her get away with this. Don't worry, we'll stop her. We have the power of the gods on our side. She places a hand on his shoulder. And with this, he looks to her. Kiyomi, that is, with a somber expression. If I die, promise me that you'll stop Emiko. You won't die. Her eyes widened with shock and then narrowed with rage. And don't you dare talk like that. But if I do, stop it, she said, her voice echoing through the cabin of the jet. She slapped him hard enough across the face to damn near loosen his teeth. He stared at her in shock as she said, don't you understand? I won't let you die. I won't let anyone else I care about die ever again. She noticed the welt on his face. And with this, he looked at her, stunned by her outburst, as well as the look of sorrow on her face at her actions. He pulled her close and held on to her tight. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to upset you. You have to promise me that you'll stop Emiko. She can't be used to use this thing to hurt anybody else. I promise. I'll stop her, no matter what it takes. He nodded, relieved. Thank you. As they sat in silence for the rest of the flight, Kiyomi couldn't shake the feeling that settled in her stomach. Emiko was more powerful than she'd ever imagined, and she knew that stopping her would be no easy task. She was determined to keep her promise to Michael no matter what lays ahead. He leans in and kisses her cheek, She's initially taken aback by surprise, which she quickly reciprocates the kiss with a fierce passion. The urgency of the situation and the fear of losing Michael fueling her actions. She deepens the kiss, feeling his warmth against her, as well as the safety it brings. When the kiss finally ends, she holds him tightly to her chest, her heart racing. You are not going to die. I won't let it happen. I will do everything in my power to keep you safe. You're too important. I trust you. Let's take down Emiko together. As they touch down, a group of men in black suits are waiting for them. Kiyomi's heart races when she sees them. Recognize them of course, as Emiko's henchmen. She feels a sudden pang and realizes they're heavily outnumbered. Suddenly, the eye of the raven vanishes from her kimono. She looks up to see Emiko standing before them. Her own purple and black kimono flowing around her like a dark river. Michael becomes paralyzed, unable to move, as Emiko steps further, holding the eye of the raven in her own hand. Kiyomi draws her fan and Tanto, ready to fight, but Emiko simply smiles and says, I have been waiting for you, Kiyomi. She grits her teeth, knowing that she must keep Emiko from getting her hands on that damn thing she holds in her possession. Step forward, ready to attack. But Emiko simply holds up her hand and stops her with a single gesture. Now, she says, tucking the eye of the raven back into her sleeve. Let us not be hasty. I have something I want to show you. Kiyomi knows that she cannot trust her, but she knows they have no other choice. She follows her lead. As Emiko's enormous Junihito falls open, the dark lining is exposed, revealing the embossed skulls and faces of those whose kids she has devoured. The faces of the victims appear to be twisted in agony, as if they are still experiencing the pain of having their life force drained from them. The sight is very eerie and disturbing. Michael can feel a cold sweat breaking over his own body. Emiko smirks, noticing the boy's discomfort. You see, my dear Michael, I am not someone to be trifled with. I hold the power of life and death in my hands, and I will do whatever it takes to get what I want. Step aside, girl. Let Michael step into the path of where my own men can watch over him, or I will kill him. I'd rather have him dead than be with someone like you. The faces within the lining moan, and Kiyomi would see traces of shadowy ki leaving through Michael's mouth into the fabric. She silently surrenders to her demands. Knowing the woman means business, she steps aside, her eyes never leaving Michael. Emiko actually wants to weep tears of joy that she didn't have to kill the boy. However, she does not dare show this, as the faces within her garment become silent, and the essence flows back through and into Michael's body once more. Her men grab him, move in and grab the boy roughly, dragging him away from Kiyomi. He struggles against their grip, but they are too strong for him to break free. She watches in horror as Michael is taken away, Kiyomi that is, wondering if she'll ever see him again. She still can't bear the thought of losing him, but she knows she must bide her time and wait for the right moment to strike. The boy is shoved into the back seat of a luxurious car, the leather seats welcoming him as if he were royalty. Emiko gracefully slides in next to him, her elegant purple and black kimono flowing around her like a river. She gives Kiyomi a sly smirk as the car begins to pull away, leaving the woman standing there with a sense of defeat and anger. The car speeds down the street. Michael tries to resist the enchantments of Emiko's Junihito, but he finds it impossible. He's lulled into a sense of false security and comfort, as if he were drugged. She takes advantage of Emiko takes advantage of the situation and wraps her kimono around Michael, planting a very deep kiss on his lips. He tries to resist, but the enchantment is too strong. Emiko's men drive off with Michael, leaving Kiyomi standing alone, feeling helpless and defeated. Tanaka appears before Kiyomi, laughing at her misfortune. She glares at him and demands why he gave her the cursed kimono to begin with, if she can't protect those she loves. Tanaka chuckles and tells her he never hated her, but that was Kiyomi who hated him. He always thought that you were better than me, Kiyomi. You never appreciated my power or my knowledge. You thought that you could do everything on your own. But you were wrong. I never asked for help. Especially from you, Tanaka. And I never needed it. I'm stronger than you think. Is that so? And why did you fail to protect the man you love? You're weak, Kiyomi. You're nothing without the kimono I blessed you with. Emiko knows that, and she will use it to destroy you. She sees in anger with his words. But she knows he's right. She needs to find a way to stop Emiko before it is too late. She turns away and walks away from Tanaka, determined to save Michael and stop Emiko's evil plans involving him. However, Tanaka speaks. Maybe through all of this mocking and taunting, you never understood that I was helping you? Hmm? And with this, Kiyomi's eyes widened with surprise at Tanaka's revelation. You were helping me all along. Oh, please, oh mighty Tanaka-sama. Tell me, she taunts him. He doesn't rise to the bait. Yes, my dear, I saw the good in you, and knew that Emiko's obsession with power would be her downfall. I gave you the kimono to show you the consequences of your own greed and fear, but also to remind you of the strength that lies within you. She looks down at her kimono, feeling loathing, but also, as she always had, a desire to live, which is why she embraced her transformation so powerfully. Fair enough. I could care less about your intentions. I have known countless people, entertained, or killed even more. I have never felt this for anyone. If this thing I wear is the key to protecting him, I will use it and my knowledges to make sure it happens. He nods approvingly. That is the kind of Wichi I knew you could be. I will help you in any way if I can to stop Emiko and save Michael. She nods in gratitude, feeling a sense of unease and relief that she has Tanaka's support. She knows the battle ahead will be very harsh. She feels more confident knowing that she has allies who believe in her. She also knows that the sorcerer has his own agendas. Michael sits up, disentangling himself from the folds of Emiko's kimono. He looks around and sees that they are in a very lavish room. I can't keep doing this, he says, shaking his head. Emiko chuckles and runs her fingers through through her long black hair, the hairpin glowing softly. Oh, Michael, you don't have a choice. You belong to me now. He stands up, his hand shaking. I will not be your plaything. She stands up and faces him. You will do as I say, and you will learn to love it. Michael looks at her, fear and anger mixing in his chest. He knows he needs to escape, but he's not sure how. He finally breaks the silence between them and asks the woman, why do you hate Kiyomi so much? That woman, her expression darkens at the mention of Kiyomi's name. That woman is nothing but a thorn in my side, she says bitterly. She has always been jealous of me and my position, and has always tried to undermine me at every turn. But what did she do to you specifically to make you hate her so much? It's a long story, she says finally after a bit of hesitation. But let's just say that Kiyomi and I have a complicated history. A history that I'd rather forget. The only reason I haven't killed her yet is because I'm not sure I can. He senses there's more to the story. Besides, not to press any further for now. He knows there's a lot of baggage between these two women, and he probably won't get the full story anytime soon. Her voice is low and remorseful as she speaks to him. I know that my hatred, now, for Kiyomi was unjustified. She was born into a very difficult situation and had to fight for everything that she had. I was blinded by my own insecurities and prejudices. It takes a lot to admit, when you're wrong. She nods, small smile tugging at the corners of her lips. Thank you, Michael. Your understanding means a lot to me. He asks her why she hates Kiyomi so much. Just pressing a little bit. I hated Kiyomi because she was illegitimate and taller than me. It was a stupid reason, but it's how I felt back then. She explains, but then Kiyomi killed my husband and son because of our rival families. I can never forgive her for that. Kiyomi told me about what she did to your family. I'm sorry for your loss. Her expression softens at his sincere words. I appreciate your sympathy, Michael. But it doesn't change anything. I can never forgive Kiyomi for what she's done. Ever. He looks at her, Emiko that is, with a mixture of sadness and anger in his eyes. How can you justify killing my father? Your father was a threat to you. Her expression cold, she says matter-of-factly. He would never have let you be with me, and I couldn't let that happen. You belong to me, Michael. You don't own me, Emiko, and you can't justify killing someone just because they're in the way of what you wanted. You don't understand, she says, her eyes narrowing. I did what I had to protect you. I understand that you love me, Emiko, but killing my father was not the answer, he says, his voice softening. I just can't forgive you for that. I know. Her expression is pained. She looks away. I can't change what I've done, but all I can try to do is make things right from now on. He asks her if she can let him go. Her eyes darken with determination. As she looks to Michael, I'm sorry, Michael. I cannot let you go. You are mine now, forever, she says firmly. However, something screams within her. For centuries she doubted Tanaka, knowing the man is borderline insane and also controlling insane. The fact that she had to suck out some of Michael's ki to get Kiyomi to back off is something that is very unsettling to her. He felt no pain, and the energy was returned to him, but still, she is not proud of those actions. Michael finally asks her, in a mixture of fear and confusion. She's been saying mine, mine all this time. What do you mean by mine? I mean you belong to me, Michael. You belong to me now, and I won't let anyone take you away from me. She says, her voice almost a whisper. He shakes his head in belief, disbelief. I can't believe this is happening. You can't just keep me here. It's my will. It's not right. She smiles, and she looks at him sternly. Michael, I can and I will. I will not let you go. You are my purpose. She bites her lip. You are my precious possession now. No matter what, I will not let you go. He looks at her, feeling a sense of dread wash over him. He realizes that he may never be able to escape from her grasp. Her embrace is surprisingly warm and comforting. She holds Michael tightly against her body, the folds of her kimono covering him completely, cocooning him in a soft, warm embrace. Michael can feel her heart against his back, and the gentle rise of her chest, rising and falling as she breathes. He drifts off to sleep. Michael can't help but feel a sense of unease. He knows he's got to get out of here. At the same time, the chemistry between them is locking him down. In his dreams, he sees his father's face. He feels a pang of guilt for betraying his memory. He wonders if his father would approve of his actions and if he could forgive him for falling for the woman who killed him. As the night wears on, Michael's body grows increasingly warm under the weight of Emiko's kimono. Despite the discomfort, he finds himself sinking deeper into her embrace, his mind foggy with sleep and desire. As Michael slips soundly in Emiko's arms, the sleeves of her Junahito loosened, revealing the intricate lining. The fabric spilled open, revealing the faces of those she had killed, including Jameson. His face appeared, hauntingly mocking her. You're no better than me, Emiko. She widened in shock. Her eyes widened in shock. She realized what was happening. She tries to close the kimono tighter around her and Michael. It was too late. His face continued to accuse her, mock her. She was just as evil as he was. She felt a cold sweat running down her spine as she tried to ignore his words. They echoed in her mind, refusing to be silenced. She couldn't bear it any longer. She let out a soft snarl of frustration and anger, her grip tightening around Michael, nearly breaking his shoulder. She realizes what she has almost done. I know, she says through basically through gritted teeth. Her voice laced with bitterness. I know I am no better than you. With that, she closed the junihito tightly around her and Michael, silencing Jameson for good. Michael awakens. His eyes lock onto Emiko's, and he speaks with a sense of urgency in his voice. You have to see it, Emiko. Tanaka doesn't care about you or Kiyomi. He is using both of you as pawns in his game, and he's playing with your emotions. Don't you see? He's making you do his bidding. Can't you see that? Her expression is blank, her eyes fixed on his own. She doesn't say anything, but her grip on him tightens slightly. Think about it. Why would Tanaka go through all this trouble to bring you and Kiyomi together? It's because he wants to see the two of you suffer. He's a twisted sorcerer or a maniac who enjoys manipulating people. Don't let him control you like this. The guilt of her actions with consuming the boy's key to make good on her threats, and centuries of actions as well as a power for love. She has the boy. Slam home with those words. No one has in her lethal history ever reached out this far to her before. Emiko's gaze remains fixed with Michael. There's doubt in her eyes. He sees he's getting to her. Please, Emiko, listen to me. You don't have to keep me here like this. Let me go, and together we can stop Tanaka. We can take control of our lives. She lets him go, somewhat. Michael waits. The woman doesn't speak. He just hopes that his words have reached her. He reaches up to hold the woman's hand, feeling the sharpness of her nails against his skin. I understand this is all you've known, Emiko. But it doesn't have to be the only life you know. There are other paths you can take, other ways to find happiness and fulfillment. She looks back at him, her expression softening slightly. You really believe that? She asks, almost pleadingly. I do. I know it won't be easy, but I'll be here to help you every step of the way. Her grip on his hand tightens. Briefly, as she releases him, she stands up, the folds of her junihito falling around her, and paces back and forth in front of him. I need time to think. But if what you say is true, I owe it to myself to explore other options, and I owe it to you for believing in me. Take all the time you need. I'll be here when you're ready. Michael is left alone with Emiko's servants. She goes aside to pay Tanaka a visit in his lair. He looks at her as she asks him, Did you ever care for me? She asks him, her voice cold and hard. Of course I did, my dear, but you must understand that you amuse me more than anything else. She flinches at his words, but she keeps her composure. You gave me the artifact and the kimono. You made me immortal. Her voice is laced with bitterness. Of course. Yes, I did. And I can always take those things away from you, if I so choose. She smirks at him. I've become too powerful for that to happen, she says confidently. Do not forget your place, Emiko, he says, his voice and face dark, tinged with anger. You're my most loyal pawn. Do not turn on me. Emiko narrows her eyes. I will do as I please. I am not your pawn anymore, she says defiantly. Tanaka's anger turns to fury. You would be wise to watch how you talk to me, child. She simply smirks in response. She turns on her heel and prepares to leave. As Tanaka chuckles to himself, she senses that something is off about his demeanor. She asks him point blank what he's laughing at. He ignores her and continues to chuckle. He then speaks up. Oh, nothing, my dear. Just a bit of irony, I suppose. Two powerful women and a mere mortal Caught, a boy caught in the middle. It's almost poetic, wouldn't you agree? What are you trying to say, Tanaka? What I am saying, he says, stop no longer laughing, and looks at her with a cold, calculating expression, is that you and Kiyomi have become too powerful for your own good, my dear, and that mortal boy you've taken a liking to, he's nothing but a liability. You would do well to get rid of him. Emiko bristles at his words. She knows, of course, Tanaka's right about Michael being a liability. But in the end, she can't bring herself to kill him. In the end, that liability is all she has now. She believes if he were killed, she might take her own life. He's done nothing to deserve such a fate, Tanaka. I will not harm him. And I'm afraid I will have to take matters into my own hands. You see, my dear Emiko, you are not near as powerful as you think you are. You have the artifact and the immortal kimono, but I created them both. I can just as easily take them away. She clenches her fists. You wouldn't dare. Oh, wouldn't I? You forget, my dear. I am the one who holds all the cards. But I'll tell you what. I will give you a chance to prove your loyalty to me. There's a task I need you to perform. It won't be easy, but if you succeed, I will spare your mortal pet. She grinds her teeth, but she knows she has no choice but to comply. I will kill Kiyomi, but not for you. I will do it for myself. As you wish, my dear, but remember, you owe me. She nods and turns to leave, her mind already racing with plans on how to take down Kiyomi. Emiko approaches the house that the woman runs. She's teaching her girls, of course, how to dance, her own intricate kimono hanging open as she wears beneath a simple, she wears it over a simple light under kimono. When she is done, she sends her girls to their respective sleeping quarters. Kiyomi pulls her 10-foot garment around herself and looks to the visitor that is Emiko. Her own massive robes are flowing around her. As she says to Kiyomi, they need to talk, and she is not here to fight. I don't trust you, Emiko. Every time we've been in the same room, it's been a battle. What makes you think that this time is going to be any different? I know we've had our differences, Kiyomi, but I've come here today to talk to you about something important. She narrows her eyes and folds her arms over her chest. What could you possibly have to say to me that is so important? She snorts in amusement and pulls out a fan from her enormous sleeve, snapping it open to fan herself. Oh, just the fact that I see you here, teaching these stupid mortal girls like some fool, and the one you claim to love is in my possession, and you do nothing. Kiyomi snarls and sends out a punch that would have jellied the skull of any normal human being. Emiko, despite being smaller and physically weaker, is able to catch the fist in a long-nailed hand. Very nice. But it doesn't answer my question. She pulls back, shaking her head, forcing herself to calm down. Because I have acted impulsively in the past and loved ones died. I also know you would not have killed him. I hate you, but I love him. I also know he would be safe with you and alive. In the end, I would have bided my time and taken Michael back. Yet him simply being among the living is the most important thing. She smiles. It's actually a genuine smile. As she sighs, shaking her head. Indeed, I think it is time to tell you why I've come here. She gestures for her, rolling her eyes, like saying, get on with it. She steps forward, folding that fan and lowering her voice. It's about Tanaka. He's been manipulating us both for his own twisted amusement. He's using us as pawns in his game, and I won't play it anymore. I know we both have been tied to him, but I also know you're not blind to his true intentions, not like I was. Her features are softened slightly. What are you proposing we do? We need to work together to take him down. With our combined power, we can defeat him and finally be free of his hold from us. All right, Emiko, I'm in. But we have to be careful. He's always watching, and we don't know what else, or who or what, I should say, he has working for him. I understand. We'll have to be strategic about how we go about this. With that, the two women make up a pact. to take down Tanaka and finally be free from his control. Kiyomi pulls her enormous robes around herself and says to Emiko, "I demand Michael back." She narrows her eyes, Emiko that is, in response. "That's not going to happen. I will kill you and if you don't let him go." She rolls her eyes, Emiko that is. "We need to take down Tanaka first, and then we can settle our differences on who Michael belongs to." Kiyomi nods. "I understand, Emiko. He is a good man, and you have a connection with him. But you have to understand that I care for him deeply. He saved my life and has been a loyal friend ever since. I cannot just let him be held captive like this." "I know, Kiyomi. That's why we need to take down Tanaka together. Only then can we decide what's best for Michael. I will help you, Emiko, but we need a plan. He's powerful, and he will not go down easily." "Agreed. We need more allies. We need to gather more allies, strategize, and strike when the time is right. For now, we need to keep Michael safe and under wraps." Kiyomi and Emiko return to Emiko's home only to find Michael missing. Emiko's eyes flare up with rage as she swiftly takes out her fan, the sharp edges glistening in the light, and slashes the throat of one of her own men who have been guarding Michael. The other men step back in terror as she demands to know where he is. "Speak up, or I'll do the same to you," she says, holding up her fan menacingly. "Where is Michael?" He was the remaining former men stammer and shake in fear, but one of them managed to speak up. "He was taken by Tanaka's men, Lady Emiko." She grits her, that grip on her fan tightens as she grinds her teeth. "Then we'll have to rescue him. Kiyomi, are you with me?" "I'm with you. Let's get Michael back." Michael awakens to find himself chained to a chair with blackened chains of foul-smelling metal. He asks Tanaka, who is observing him, why he's doing this. "I did it because I can," he says, his smirk turning into a twisted smile. "I am a god, Michael, a deity, and mere mortals such as those two women are beneath me. They are nothing but playthings for my amusement. But then you came along, and you disrupted my game. You were not supposed to be a part of it. So what now? Are you going to kill me too?" "No, Michael. I have bigger plans for you. You were placed here by a power greater than mine. Your soul is tied to fate itself, I think." "My power over fate is no different than yours or your own life. You may have some control over the path someone takes, but ultimately it's their decision to make. You are wise beyond your years, young Michael, but I fear that you underestimate the power of gods and the control we have over the world. You may think you control the world, but you're just a man with delusions of grandeur. You'll never have power over me or the ones I care about. We will see about that." Tanaka then leans in. "I wanted to see if they could grow stronger in their struggles." He leans right in front of Michael and says this. "If they could rise above their curses I have bestowed upon them and become more powerful. And they have, haven't they? Kiyomi has become a very respected geisha, and Emiko a very, very successful businesswoman. Now it is time for them to face the ultimate test." "What test?" "The test of true love, my boy. You see, Michael, both women love you deeply. And now they will have to fight for you. Only one will be able to claim you as their own, and the other will be forced to suffer with the pain of losing you forever. It is a true test to their strength and their love. Can't do that. It's not fair to them or to me. Fairness has nothing to do with it, boy. It is simply the way things are. You will be the prize in this game. So who do you think will win? The fierce geisha? Or the cunning businesswoman? You see, Michael, I have lived for many, many years and seen the darkness in the hearts of men. I have sought to create a world where pain and suffering are minimized, but I know that I cannot do it alone. I need strong and capable people to help me achieve my goals. I won't be around to see it, yet you and others like you will be. Emiko and Kiyomi, are two of the strongest people I have ever met. They have faced unimaginable pain, and yet they still have the will to fight. I gave them gifts, so they would truly be able to recognize their full potential and see my ambition take fruit. You want to help them create a better world? Yes, and I believe they will, once they see the truth of my vision. He looks at Tanaka, not really sure what to think. He always thought the man as a villain, but he's starting to see another side. Could it be possible that Tanaka is right, that he was trying to do something good? As Kiyomi and Emiko make their way through the ancient tunnel systems towards Tanaka's lair, Emiko's men slowly follow closely behind, their guns drawn. The atmosphere is tense, and both women are silent as they move forward. Kiyomi asks Emiko, "Do you still hate me for what I did to your family?" "Of course I hate you for what you did. But for Michael's sake, I'm willing to put that aside. Just remember, he still belongs to me." She sighs. Kiyomi, that is, and shakes her head. "I understand. I'm truly sorry for what I did to your husband and your son all those years ago. I know I don't deserve forgiveness. Maybe one day I'll be able to forgive you. But for now, we need to be on our guard. We will face trouble soon." The two women continue towards in silence, both lost in their own thoughts about the dangerous journeys ahead. They encounter, standing in their way, a monstrous berserker of a man. He charges towards Emiko. Her men open fire, but their bullets have no effect. He simply swiftly kills all of them, his massive axe chopping them into bloody chunks. Kiyomi turns and gasps, looking to Emiko. "Who is this man? He must be one of Tanaka's strongest warriors." It was then that Emiko nods grimly. "He must have been raised from the dead, using Tanaka's foul magic. We have to be careful, Kiyomi. The closer we get to his lair, the more dangerous it's going to become." It was then that Kiyomi tightens her grip on her Tonto and nods in agreement. "I understand, Emiko. We must stay alert and focused. If we are to succeed in rescuing my Michael and defeating Tanaka." Kiyomi charges forth towards the massive man, the Tonto gleaming in her hand. As she approaches him, she throws open her kimono, revealing the serpent's lining, the interior. The man seems momentarily distracted, but he then lunges forth, swinging his axe with deadly force. She's able to dodge the initial attack and stab that blade into his neck. Doesn't stop him. He grabs her by the throat and lifts her off the ground, throwing her against the wall with tremendous force. She crumples to the ground, gasping for air. The man turns his attention to Emiko and her men. Emiko reaches into her massive kimono sleeve and produces a kusarigama. A kusarigama, my mistake. Basically a chain blade. Basically a chain attached to a dagger. She moves quickly, throwing the folds of her kimono over the man to blind him, the heavy layers of cloth concealing much of his body. As she struggles, she stabs him with the dagger into the weapon and tangles the chain around his neck, choking him. The warrior almost throws her off, but it is then that the eye of the raven, the hairpin that is in Emiko's long hair, begins to glow. Shadows from the lining of Emiko's kimono begin to reach out and hold the warrior down. Kiyomi sees her opening and charges forth with her own blade. With a quick movement, she decapitates the warrior, killing him. The women take a moment to catch their breath. They compose themselves. Ko looks to Kiyomi and nods, acknowledging her skill in battle. The shadowy hands retreating into her garment's folds. They continue on their way to Tanaka's lair, knowing more dangers lay ahead. Emiko and Kiyomi are left alone in the darkness of the pitch-black tunnel, unable to see or hear each other. The only sound is a faint drip of water, echoing off the damp walls. They stand still, the darkness envelops them, suffocating their senses. Can't even see their hands in front of their faces. The silence is deafening, broken only by the sound of their own breathing. They're lost in the darkness, unsure of what lays ahead, or if they can even find each other. Kiyomi stands in the pitch-black tunnel, The memories flood her mind like a vivid slideshow. She sees her father, a stern and stoic figure, teaching her how to fight with a blade. The training was vicious and harsh, with no room for errors or weakness. She could feel the sting of her father's words, telling her that love and affection would only hinder her growth as a warrior. The image would shift, and Kiyomi would see herself in battle, using her sharp mind and quick wit to outmaneuver her enemies. The sound of flashing swords and blades and dying screams echo in the darkness. She feels as if she's in the midst of a fight. The images shift again. She would see herself committing heinous acts, killing Emiko's family and burning down her home. Her heart would fill with regret and sadness as she realizes the weight of her actions. But then the images would shift to Kiyomi, becoming a student geisha, a Maiko, and then an Okiya. A drastic departure from her previous life. She would see herself performing for Tanaka, who would promise her immortality in exchange for her servitude. She would feel a surge of anger and determination rise within she yelled out to the darkness. She had found a new purpose beyond her own ambition, and she was sworn not to let Tanaka hurt anyone else. As Emiko is surrounded by the darkness, memories of her past flood her mind. She remembers the strict upbringing she had and the pampered life she had once lived with her husband and son. But then memories of the day that her life changed forever rush through her mind. She remembers the warriors, including Kiyomi, killing her loved ones and leaving her for dead. With determination, Emiko screams out, "I will not let Tanaka win. I will not abandon Michael. I will cut Tanaka's heart out with my own hands if I must." Her voice echoes through the tunnels, and for a moment she feels a sense of clarity and purpose. She knows what she must do, and she will stop at nothing to achieve it. Kiyomi reaches out and grabs Emiko, her own memories of her past still fresh in her mind. Emiko's, being lost in her own thoughts and despair, reacts instinctively and snaps open her bladed fan, pressing it to Kiyomi's throat. She doesn't flinch, but she speaks. "Snap out of it, Emiko. We both faced our past and move forward. It is time to rescue the man we come for." Emiko's grip on the fan loosens, and she slowly puts it away. "You're right," she says. "Let's go." The two women walk together in the darkness, their hands clasped tightly. Kiyomi starts to sing a calming tune. Emiko recognizes it as a song her mother used to sing to her as a child. She joins in, their voices blending together in harmony. With each step, they draw closer to their goal and their love, their bond as sisters in arms. Both women come across a massive door. Kiyomi, being the larger and stronger of the two, tries to push the door open. Emiko tries to help, but the iron door remains shut despite the fact both women having the strength of well over 10 men due to their supernatural powers. "Let me try something," Emiko says, her eyes focused on the door. She steps back and Kiyomi follows suit. The hairpin that is in Emiko's hair, known as the Eye of the Raven, glows from within the extremely long depths of her hair. She holds her hands out towards the door, and a gust builds, their robes billowing around them. But suddenly, the door shatters. Emiko falls to the floor, exhausted. Kiyomi helps her stand and catch her breath. "That was impressive. Thank you," Emiko says. "Let's keep going. We have to do this for Michael." As they continue down the stairs, their kimonos trailing behind them, Kiyomi speaks up. "I have to admit, Emiko, I didn't think I'd be able to work with you. I know. Our history hasn't been the best. But for Michael, we have to put our differences aside. We have to work together. You're right. Michael means everything to me." And with this, they reach the bottom of the stairs. They see a large ornate door, the symbol of a dragon, carved into it. Emiko approaches and places her hand on the door, causing it to open with a loud creak. They enter, so to say, after Emiko says, "Let's go." Her mind is flooded with images, Emiko's that is. She remembers the last time she was brought here. So many years ago. I should say the first time, prepared to commit suicide in her shame and grief. He had brought her into this chamber, Tanaka, promising her power and the ability to exact revenge on those who had wronged her. She had killed every last one of the men responsible, except for Kiyomi. But now, as she looks upon Tanaka with a mixture of fear and rage, she realizes the price she paid was too high. Michael was chained to a chair, beaten and bloodied. The man applauded. Slowly, Tanaka, that is, with a mocking sneer on his face. Kiyomi, being the more impulsive and emotional of the two, screamed at Tanaka to let Michael go. Tanaka said he would gladly do so, but they must first do something for him. He told them they must pretty much fight each other to the death. The winner will get the boy. If not, Tanaka will kill Michael. Emiko spoke, finally. We won't do it. We won't play your twisted games, Tanaka. Kiyomi stepped forward. Speak for yourself, Emiko. I'll do whatever it takes to save Michael. She looked at Kiyomi with a mix of respect and disappointment. You are willing to kill me to save a man who would never forgive you for such an action? She drew her tanto. I'm willing to do what needs to be done. Are you? She hesitated, her emotions conflicting within her. Michael's life was at stake, but she couldn't bring herself to actually fight Kiyomi to the death. She knew Kiyomi was stronger and much more skilled in combat. Time's running out, ladies. Make a decision. Emiko finally spoke. Kiyomi, I won't fight you, but I'll help you fight Tanaka. She nodded. Fair enough. Let's do this. They both charged at Tanaka, determined to take him down and save Michael. Kiyomi, fueled by rage and frustration, she lunges forth towards Tanaka with a tanto. Emiko hadn't far behind, ready to support her partner in this final battle. Tanaka, confident and collected, calmly dodges all of Kiyomi's attacks and counters with his own magical infused attacks as well. Emiko uses her sorceress abilities to create powerful gusts of wind, temporarily disrupting Tanaka's movements. Kiyomi seizes the opportunity to land a solid hit on the man's left arm, causing him to falter. But the sorcerer is not so easily defeated. He retaliates with a blast of dark energy, sending both women flying back against the wall with a sickening crunch. Emiko is the first to stand, drawing from the stolen key in her Junihito to heal herself. Kiyomi does the same. And she does the same affair, using the key she has stolen within her own robes. Michael, free from his chains, grabs a knife from the table and rushes forward. Tanaka, determined to avenge these two women he has grown to love so dearly. But the sorcerer is too quick, grabbing the boy and using his human shield, his clawed nails digging into the boy's throat. Stay back or the boy dies! Tanaka hisses, his eyes gleaming with sadistic glee. Suddenly, Emiko and Kiyomi freeze, uncertain of their next move. The stakes are too high, and they cannot risk losing Michael. Tanaka sneers, reveling in his victory. Suddenly, Michael kicks Tanaka in the groin, freeing himself from the sorcerer's grasp. He stumbles back, releasing the boy. He seizes his opportunity and grabs the fallen knife, plunging it into Tanaka's neck. The sorcerer turns around, grabbing the boy, breaking his neck before collapsing on the floor. Kiyomi screams in anguish and despair, calling out Michael's name. She catches him before he even hits the floor. Tanaka moved forward with his tattered sorcerer's robes billowing around him. In his hand, he held a katana made of pure black metal, the weapon gleaming in the dim light of the chamber. His body moved in a blur as Emiko tried to stab him with her own tanto. The souls inside her Junihito, screaming with anger and rage due to her grief. She managed to stab Tanaka in the arm, but he was quick to retaliate, plunging that katana deep in her stomach with a sneer of satisfaction. He looks in shock downward as she grabs his wrist, forcing him to let go of the blade. She then pulls a katana out of her stomach, the ki she has consumed over centuries, sealing the wound. The massive black blade clatters to the floor. She whispered in his ear, her voice filled with dark resolve. Checkmate. And with this, she grabbed the man by the lapels of his robes, her eyes glowing with a fierce determination. Using the stolen key taken from thousands of men, she ignites a fiery inferno that engulfed Tanaka's body. He screamed in agony as the flames consumed him, his once powerful form now reduced to a burning husk. Kiyomi reached forward, seizing the opportunity to strike. As she grabbed Tanaka's dropped katana, in a swift motion, she plunged the black blade into his back, causing him to scream out in agony. The burning man writhed on the ground as she withdrew the blade, the black metal glistening with blood and fire. The once mighty sorcerer had been defeated by the unyielding wind of, how can I say this the best way? The unyielding will of the two women, their grudging respect for each other, allowing them to work together to achieve their common goal. Tanaka lay on the ground, a broken shell, a charred husk of a man, his breaths shallow and labored. With a weak smile on his face, he spoke to the two women who stood above him. I see now. This moment was what I saw for both of you. His voice barely a whisper. The ability to put your hate and pride aside. I had no idea that Michael would have a part to play in it. What do you mean, a part to play? Emiko asked. Tanaka's eyes flickered towards Michael, who lay motionless on the ground nearby. With a wave of his hand, Michael's wounds began to heal, and the boy's eyes fluttered open. For exceeding my expectations, I will give you a boon. Michael will live, and I will depart knowing that I have played my part in bringing all of you together. Make this world better. Keep it safe from people like me. The two women watched in amazement as Michael's injuries faded, and he slowly rose to his feet. What happened? Kiyomi opened her massive kimono and wrapped it tightly around him, crying tears of joy that he was alive. She holds him so tight that he feels his ribs almost pop. Emiko watches as Kiyomi then holds out her hand, motioning for her to approach them. Emiko hesitates for a moment before walking towards them. Kiyomi and Emiko embrace Michael together, opening their robes and closing them around him, creating a cocoon for the man who willingly sacrificed himself for them. Michael tells them that he loves them, and the two women simply hold him tight in silence. Tanaka's smirking face can still be seen in the background as he takes his last breaths, content with the outcome. He had left them with their power and their abilities. A parting gift. As the three embrace, Kiyomi beckons Emiko. Come. We have been through too much, lost too much. He is ours, not mine or yours. Emiko nods. And the two women hold Michael even tighter, as if trying to fuse their body with his. The air around them crackles with energy as the two women merge their stolen ki to heal Michael completely. He feels his strength returning. Something else. Longevity. He will never age a day as long as he is with them. The cocoon of robes begin to glow with a soft light, and the room is filled with a feeling of peace and unity. The three hold each other in silence, knowing their bond is unbreakable. 2 weeks later, a penthouse in Tokyo purchased by Emiko and Kiyomi together, including funds from Michael's inheritance from Phoenix Enterprises thanks to Emiko. Emiko sat in meditation. Her eyes closed as she focused on her breathing. It had been 2 weeks since Michael's return to life, and she still found herself struggling to process everything that had happened. Suddenly, she heard Jameson's voice inside of her mind. Himiko, can you forgive me? You have Michael now. Can't you let me go? I'm tired. I'm in pain. She opened her eyes and looked down at her Junihito, where Michael, of course, Jameson's spirit was trapped. Himiko speaks. Jameson, I have already forgiven you. And yes, I will let you go. You don't have to suffer anymore. With that, she opened her massive kimono and released Jameson's soul. He vanished into the ethereal plane, finally at peace. She sees Michael sleeping with Kiyomi, the taller woman, clutching the boy to her chest. Her massive uchikake kimono surrounding him tightly. She joins them, Himiko that is, the flowing folds of her Junihito, covering them all as three souls once more joined together in peace. Thus ends Tanaka's ambition.